Two head coaches from the state of Florida very much on the hot seat today. One of them, we kind of expected it. The other one, total shocker, Cole. You know, we kind of thought going into the season, especially going into the first game of the season, which was Florida-Miami, we thought that there was a good chance one of those coaches could be fired after that loss. We thought that both of those coaches were very much on the hot seat at their respective institutions. Well, now Mario Cristobal looks like a genie. I mean, he's playing Sisters of the Poors, right? He's playing nobodies. He's playing less than nobodies. He's playing the nobody's B team. And now Mike Norvell at Florida State finds himself in a very precarious position, so much so that people are firing fire alarms on Mike Norvell in the middle of his post-game press conferences. The first time I heard this, I was like, there's no way this is real, right? Because I've got to the point where I don't trust anything anymore. But here was Mike Norvell in his post-game presser after losing to Memphis.
That's all it takes to change it. And, we just, obviously have had some opportunities that, that we needed to respond in those situations. But I think from their attitude, their approach, even they're in the locker room, we're all disappointed. But
you suck. That's the best part.
Continue to work and continue to pour into each other and the opportunity we have.
The question is, who pulled it?
You are to leave the building by the nearest exit in the middle of his post-game press conference.
That's classic, man.
How does that happen?
Somebody pulled it. That's how it happened.
Genius.
Somebody said enough of this guy.
I don't know who pulled it, but bravo. Whoever you are.
Like, that doesn't just accidentally happen.
No.
I mean, the fire alarm all of a sudden just goes off.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Maybe it was a Memphis player, right?
How at that middle of that game do you not bench DJ Uyunglele?
I know you've got a red
shirt freshman or a true freshman,
the Brock kid
quarterback following up DJU. But come on, Mike Norvell, you're not an idiot, right? You got to this point because you seemingly knew what it was you were doing. And then you just forget what it is you're doing. I understand you probably threw a lot of NIL at this guy. So you feel like you have to play him, but you don't have
Screw
to.
That.
You don't have to dig yourself in such a hole by refusing to make a smart football decision. And we're going to talk about that coming up later on with the Carolina Panthers as they've benched Bryce Young. But welcome into Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryce. And I was out yesterday. We had a pet die on us, and so that was kind of a rough situation that we were dealing with at the house. But I appreciate Cole Bryson for stepping in and manning the ship solo. Whew, it got ugly. It got ugly this weekend in Tallahassee and in Gainesville. Fans in Gainesville were chanting "Fire Billy!"
Yeah,
Fire Billy! Fire Billy! In their game against Texas A&M. I'm going to be real, though. If we have any Florida Gator fans in the audience, you were never going to win that game. I don't understand why you got so bent out of shape because of the way that game was going. Texas A&M, as down bad as they are, you're way worse off than they are. You were never going to beat Texas A&M. And there's major massive overhaul changes needed at the University of Florida. And it's time to make a move. It's time to make a move. I don't know who it is they may go after, but you got to do it middle of the season. And I'm going to tell you why. The segment is called Bold or Boneheaded, to fire Billy Napier. And we'll talk about Florida State as well, to fire Mike Norvell in the middle of the season. I think, Cole, you got to do it. I think you have to in this portal era, in this NIL era, when the talent on your roster is transient, right? They're moving. As soon as they get upset, as soon as they don't like the direction that this team is going, hell, some of them do like the direction that the team is going, and they're cutting bait and they're hitting the road. But if you want to hang on to any of the talent that you've got, you've got to make a move middle of the season. You got to try to hang on to what you can and who you can by making a hire that's going to convince those 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that, I better stick around a little bit longer in Tallahassee and Gainesville.
So I hear you. It's a tough place to be for any fan base, for any program, whether it's Florida, Florida State, whoever it is, right? I'll tell you this. You can't delay the inevitable. I understand that, and I understand your point of it being bold because you have to cut ties, before the ship absolutely sinks to the bottom. However, when I see firing a coach midseason, I look at it from a standpoint of what does it benefit the program? What is it going to do to benefit you? Because you talk about keeping guys in NIL and the portal, and you're right, it is a finicky world that we live in where the word commitment isn't commitment anymore. They're there because of the dollar sign, right? Most of them are. So when you talk about cutting ties with, let's say, for example, Florida's Billy Napier, Diesel. If you cut ties with Billy Napier in the middle of the season, the guys are going to leave, in my opinion. They're going to leave regardless of if you cut ties now versus if you cut ties at the end of the season. I don't know. The only thing that I'll push back on, I don't know what it benefits you to bring or to fire Billy in the middle of the season, bring an interim from the staff up, right? None of the players who are finicky right now are going to stick around because of interim offensive line coach who got the job. Sean Elliott was a perfect example of that. South Carolina, they didn't even give Sean Elliott the job after Spurrier quit. Elliott was the interim, and then they go hire Muschamp. So I agree with you that he's got to go. You're delaying the inevitable. However, I don't see doing it midseason having that significant of a purpose.
Well, if you're Florida, you have a big-time problem on your hands in the fact that DJ Lagway, everything freshman quarterback who's only played a little bit, he's going to take off. He's going to look really good in Georgia uniform next year. I don't know who Georgia has after Carson Beck, but
Probably
I'm telling
a 5-star.
But I'm telling you, DJ Lagway is going to look real good rocking that red and black next year. Look, it's an impossible situation that you find yourself in if you're Florida State and the University of Florida. I think Napier's seat is the surface of the sun right now. Norvell's is pretty damn hot. You can't start 0-3 at Florida State, losing to three teams that you're better than.
Yeah.
You've got more talent than. One of them being a group of five. One of them being your head coach's former employer. It's damn embarrassing. We've seen the photos. We've seen the photos of Florida State fans with bags on their heads, and we've seen that coming out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and a bunch of NFL cities as well. But I think at this point, Cole, you got to go out there and you got to, at this point right now, September 17th, you got to be making back channel phone calls to Jimmy Sexton, and you got to start getting the best of the best candidates on the line, vetting whether or not they're interested. That's how this goes down, right? Like, let's just say you go and you hire somebody who's already a sitting head coach somewhere else. They're not going to leave their school mid-season.
Sure.
But you put that interim coach in there, and hopefully you got a guy who's an up-and-coming star who can be just so damn good that they force the university to not go hire the guy that they wanted to hire, which they're probably going to go do anyway. Yeah. But if you have a guy who can come in and save the locker room and keep some of these guys around, otherwise you're starting from scratch.
Well, I think sometimes that's the best thing needed. I think sometimes starting for example, the Florida job. And I saw some tweets about this today. I think, you brought up Florida State as well, and I'll give my opinion on that. But with Florida Diesel, man, that job right now, when you say the words starting from scratch, I still believe to this day, on September the 17th, I still believe Florida's a good job. I still believe it's a very good job.
Hey, they just got an IPF last year, right?
I know others in the media that, I saw this morning on Twitter don't believe it's a good job. I do. I think it's still a very good job. Just because the guy there now is doing a terrible job doesn't make the job bad. A guy can come in, a new coach can come in, clean house, clean the slate, and all of a sudden, in the world of portal and NIL, you can have that ship back up afloat very soon. I don't think it'll take long. Now, 10 years ago, maybe a different story, right? However, Diesel, the money Florida has, I think the best case scenario, and why I push back on doing something midseason is, I think the best case scenario is to push an absolutely clean house, clean slate, because the guys that you've got in there now, if you try to keep them, the new guy's going to come in, a la Bryce Young and Dave Canales, And the new guy that comes in is going to look at him and say, well, these weren't the guys I recruited. They're going to have issues there. I say, you know what? Clean the freaking slate. Let the new guy bring in the guys that he wants, and let's start from scratch. It's still a very good job, in my opinion.
Madcraft asked the question, Florida is in a free fall. Sure, it's a blue blood job, but they also expect results immediately. Why should a coach risk it? Well, the answer to that question for Mike Norvell is $65 million in buyout right now. For Billy Napier, it's $28 million in buyout.
$28 million for Napier?
For Napier. And, we heard that story. I think it came out late Saturday night. Maybe it came out on Sunday that the big boosters had all gotten together, Zoom call or something, and they had raised the money. They all pledged the money, the $28 million it was going to take for Billy Napier to go away. And, we heard that with Ed Orgeron, the joke of which door you want me to walk out of, brother?
Yeah.
Pay me that kind of money to go away. I mean, it is a cutthroat job. It is a no tolerance job. You win or you walk. And as long as you got big boosters who are willing to chip in millions upon millions of dollars to make somebody go away, you'll always have head coaches wanting to take the big time jobs with the super high expectations.
Yeah, I think
they'll always take them.
I want, though, like if I'm the Florida AD, I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes, Diesel, of Florida's position. Whenever Lane Kiffin or whoever it is comes in, right, next year at the end of the season, whoever it is that comes in, whenever that new head coach walks in the door, I want to be able to hand them the keys to the castle and say, look, it's yours. You do what you have to do to get us back. I don't care about the guys that are already here. I don't care about the NIL deals that they currently have. To heck with all of it, man. To heck with the current NIL deals. To heck with the guys, Diesel, that are already there. They're not good. They're not winning now. Yeah, it's on coaches, but at the end of the day, Florida doesn't have the talent either. To heck with them all. Screw them. Go find another NIL deal. The portal's full of guys. Let's build this thing back up and absolutely wipe house. I want to see somebody come in there, man, and be given what they need and just say, you know what? I'm going to flip the table and I'm going to do it my way and get this, because it is, at the end of the day, man, Florida's still a dang good job. I don't care what anybody says.
Madcraft argues it's not all about the money. Both of those guys have hurt their resume a ton. Madcraft and those who think like Madcraft, I just want you to look around the SEC and look at all those sitting head coaches in the SEC who were once disgraced head coaches because they couldn't win somewhere else. They spent some time on Nick Saban's staff, and boom, they're back in the saddle, right? Steve Sarkisian. I'm looking at all these guys who have had big-time jobs before. Bill O'Brien, now head coach at Boston College.
That's a good question, though.
Big-time coaches who crapped the bed somewhere for whatever reason, right? And look, you and I and fans, we look at things very, very shallow, right? We look at things like, oh, you just couldn't win at Florida. It's because you suck as a coach. Well, guess what? People who hire those guys down the road, they don't think that way. They don't think, well, you suddenly forgot how to coach. Billy Napier, who was insanely good at Louisiana, I get it. G5 school, different set of expectations. Sure. But these are smart guys who know what they're doing, and they get these jobs initially for a reason, because they're smart guys and they know what they're doing. And then oftentimes, just like being a rookie quarterback in the NFL, you get thrust into a terrible situation. Very, very rarely do we have a situation like you got at Alabama, where Nick Saban had that thing rolling as efficiently as it possibly could. And that guy exits stage left. Everybody loves him. Nobody's upset about what's going on. And you can hire a guy who has this insane resume like Kalen DeBoer. Most of the time, these jobs are available because the previous head coach crapped the bed. Yeah. So you're walking into a terrible situation that you have to fix. What I'm saying is the people who end up doing the hiring down the road at these big time schools, they look back and they say, oh, well, yeah, but you were at Florida. You were at a really tough place. Like, they got insanely high expectations and you didn't have what you needed at Florida. They understand these nuanced reasons why things happen.
Mark L. says you can't feel sorry for the coaches because they can always build a new bank with the money they are leaving with. And no, I agree with that. I don't feel sorry for the coaches. And, kind of going back to what you were just saying, Diesel, when it comes to Billy Napier, whenever Billy Napier does get the axe, whether it's tomorrow or 6 months from now or 4 months from now, whenever that may be, I look at that as a situation where if Nick Saban were still coaching at Alabama, we saw it with Steve Sarkisian, we saw it with Lane Kiffin, it would not surprise me one bit to see Billy Napier, who does get the axe, go right down south or right west, if you will, or leave Florida and go west to Alabama and be on that staff and be revived with Nick Saban like many coaches were, because that's what Saban did. And to your point, I believe smart head coaches see Napier still as a good coach. Does this taint his resume? It doesn't help it. You know, I understand.
But we love a comeback story.
We do love a comeback story. I understand the point of he has absolutely crapped the bed at Florida, and that's true. However, you know, I don't know that you can place the blame when you look at this entire situation as a flawed experiment with Billy Napier. I think you put a lot of it on the people that hired him. You know, they hired Billy Napier. They fired Dan Mullen after one bad year and 2 10-win seasons the year before that. So I don't know that I can put all the blame on Billy Napier. It's just hard to say that this absolutely taints his resume.
So the reason I want to push back on that is, what makes you think Billy Napier is inept? That's the real question. There's a difference between not winning versus ineptitude or in over your headitude, right? Billy Napier is not inept.
Well, I didn't say he was.
I know. I'm just saying, like, he hasn't forgotten how to be a good head coach. He's put into a situation, number one, toughest conference in college football, absolutely brutal. Yeah. You got Georgia, who's rolling at a high level. You got Tennessee, who's rolling at a high level. Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, all of them riding at extremely high levels. So you're gonna be taking some time to build your way back up from no matter where you were, and you've got an extremely twitchy fan base who does not want to give you the time that you need. I don't know that Billy Napier, I'm not making excuses for the guy, right? But I'm just saying there are reasons why Billy Napier has not been successful to this point at Florida. And you and I both know, Cole, that the transfer portal window is in December, right? That's going to be these guys' first opportunities to leave. The reason why I say you got to do this now, why you got to move on from Billy Napier, or why you got to move on from Mike Norvell now, is because you then have 3 or 4 months to try to throw the best possible pitch at the guy that you think will come in and fix this thing. And I got a couple ideas. I got a couple of names. Some of them probably feel like long shots, but you're the University of Florida, right? You should have the ability to go out and pay whoever it is you want. They raised $28 million over the phone, right? So they should have the kind of scratch to go out and get these guys and throw a number at them that they cannot refuse. Number one name I'm calling, if I'm the University of Florida, is Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri.
Really?
I am calling that guy in a heartbeat, because we know he's willing to jump ship. He was at App State for a year. He's done a fantastic job at Mizzou. He's built that program back up from basically nothing. You telling me that Eli Drinkwitz and that kind of snarky attitude wouldn't fit really, really well in Gainesville? I love Eli.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good fit. I just wouldn't call Eli first. Lane Kiffin would be my number one call, and he would be the number one call that I have to make, and I would throw Diesel the money at him to where he cannot tell me no. Now, if he says
that would
no,
be gutted for Ole Miss fans. Well, you finally got good again, and then he takes off on you, and probably takes most of his recruits with him.
I don't dislike Eli Drinkwitz. I think he's a good coach. I think what he's done at Missouri, he's actually done a better job than people realize at a school that doesn't win, right? In the toughest conference. I just think that Lane's the guy you got to go after first.
Yeah, we've seen these SEC schools take head coaches from each other. I look at maybe a guy like, I think maybe a little bit early on him, maybe a year early. We need a little bit more sample size on him. But if Bill O'Brien can keep Boston College rolling, maybe you give him a call. Maybe you give Kurt Signetti, who's at Indiana now, who's 3-0 at a program that has no history of winning whatsoever. He's kind of a chippy, snarky guy. I like him as well. I don't think you're going to get Dan Lanning out of Oregon. So, I mean, I'd make the phone call, but I don't think you're going to get him. Is it time to bring Gus Malzahn back to a power job? Or is it finally time for Jamie Chadwell to be a head coach in the SEC? I mean, you telling me Jamie Chadwell's personality is not very similar to Steve Spurrier's personality? You telling me that wouldn't work in Gainesville? I would love Jamie Chadwell at Florida.
You know, I think Gus Malzahn's a name that whenever it does happen, he'll creep, in my opinion, he'll creep his way up to like second or third on the list.
These big names always come back around.
Yeah. And look, he can recruit. He's willing to use the portal. He's that type of guy that I believe Florida would love to have. However, I just don't know if they view him as top 3. It's an interesting conversation, and it's just a matter of when, not if, right? Because it's going to happen. I mean, hate to say it, but Billy Napier's gone. He's done. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of done, Bryce Young, that news broke yesterday. I talked about it right here on Wire to Wire. Diesel was not here. We'll jump back into that on the other side and get your thoughts as well. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. So on Sunday after the game, Dave Canales said, no, Bryce is our guy. I don't know what you guys are talking about. He's our quarterback. That's who we're rolling with. And then on Monday, right before I went on the air yesterday, it was announced that the Carolina Panthers have made a decision to bench Bryce Young for the Red Rocket, Red Rifle, whatever you want to call it. Andy Dalton will be getting the start against Las Vegas. And that's where the conversation goes, Diesel, as you walked in today with your Carolina Panthers hat on.
Yeah.
And I am going to play devil's advocate to what you said when you walked in today. You said you're wearing your Carolina Panthers hat today because they finally made a good decision.
They did.
And you're referring to the benching of Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Before I play devil's advocate, tell me why you think it's the right move for the Panthers.
2 words. Bryce sucks. He sucks.
Yeah,
He's terrible. There's 2 more words.
Oh,
sit down. There's 2 more words. Bryce Young has been awful.
It's been bad.
For his 18 games starting for the Carolina Panthers, he has been truly putrid, repugnant, awful, terrible, crappy. Some 4-letter words that I can't say on the radio. Thanks a lot, FCC. It would be a lot more fun if we could. Come on, it's 2024. Let's lift those restrictions, shall we? I mean, in what world, when you do what you do in the NFL, which is place the best players from college onto the worst teams, when you put him in a situation where he's completely bereft of talent around him, I'm talking the offensive line, I'm talking the receiving core, I'm talking the running back room, tight ends, all of them suck, bunch of bums, and he can't get anything done last season. I mean, it was something when they could muster 2 touchdowns in a game offensively.
Good times, weren't
that
they?
was, though, God, those were the best of times.
But
this year they've been friggin' awful with Bryce Young, and he's regressed. He's looked worse. He's looked terrible under the tutelage of Dave Canales. I mean, Dave would have to be a miracle worker to fix this guy.
So, Diesel, for the record, I want to be very clear. I agree with you. I agree that right now putting in Andy Dalton at the quarterback, at starting quarterback, is the right decision. However, for the purpose of the segment, I want to play devil's advocate because I found myself asking these same questions yesterday. I do agree that Bryce sucks. Your 2 words you said. It's very simple. He does. He's not good.
He sucks.
He's not. He's not good at all. So I get why the decision was made. However, the devil's advocate side that I want to play is, let's say, for example, I said this yesterday, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Let's say, for example, Andy Dalton comes in. Let's say he goes on the road and beats Las Vegas this weekend, which I think is a possibility. He goes and beats the Raiders, and when it's all said and done, Diesel, he's won 4 games, right? I don't know how many games he plays, whether it's 6, 8, 10, 12, whatever it may be. But let's say for the sake and purposes of this argument, Andy Dalton has won 4 games as the starting quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. Where I'm going to play devil's advocate is, okay, if they're 4 and 12, whatever their record would have to be for, whatever it is, how many ever games they play, 100 games now, so it's hard to remember exactly how many games they play total, but 4 wins on the season. Mm-hmm. What does that gain you from a big picture standpoint of being able to get Bryce reps? Because we said early in the season, Bryce Young needs reps, right? He wasn't playing preseason. We said he needed reps. Well, now he's being benched for Andy Dalton, and you win 4 games. That's all, that's fine and dandy. The Panthers fans have had 4 reasons to celebrate and cheer this year, but now you're picking 6th or 7th, and you're stuck with Shedeur Sanders instead of Quinn Ewers. That's where I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Well, the good part of that is, and I understand your point. Imagine if I told you that the Carolina Panthers were in a world where they need to play their former number 1 overall pick in order to tank for a new number 1 overall
pick. It's true,
pick.
Right?
It's true. It's true. Yeah, but we don't know how the season's going to play out.
We don't.
We don't know what the target number of wins is to get to that number 1 overall pick. If you got 4, and I'm just going with your scenario here.
Yeah.
If you got 4, I think you're probably going to be sitting inside that top 3 or 4 position pick anyway. And at that point, as you're looking down this draft, and there's some strong candidates at edge rusher, there's some strong candidates at, nobody's going to pick a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman number 1, right? But you got the possibility of Quinn Ewers, of Carson Beck, of some elite edge rushers right there, and you need all of that. So kind of no matter where you pick inside the top 5 to 6 to 7, you're going to be filling a position of need with an elite college player. So if you really believe that Quinn Ewers, who is a little bit injury prone, or if you really believe that Carson Beck, who just had an awful performance against Georgia, I'm not saying that one performance in the SEC is a reason why you don't go draft somebody. I'm not saying that at all. But if you think one of those two guys is the savior of this team, then sure, try to lose a bunch of games. I mean, Andy Dalton's 36.
Right.
I mean, he's
just 75 in quarterback.
He's chiseled that jawline. He's got the beard cut to just the right level. He's a handsome guy. But I mean, Andy Dalton's not going to go out there and win you a whole bunch of football games anyway. But this franchise has to do something to sell tickets to end the narrative that they're not willing to do what it takes, that they're inept, that they're a bunch of idiots.
Did you see the crowd Sunday?
It didn't look as bad as I thought it was going to look.
Didn't look great.
I turned it on early, first quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, the aerial shots looked like it was maybe 75 to 80% full.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of a spattering of empty seats everywhere.
While I agree with you on them making a move, I'll say this. I think the Carolina Panthers are in a lose-lose situation. And again, like when we get on these airwaves and we try to pump hope and faith Diesel into a fan base, right? When we try to do that, it contradicts. It's very contradictory to say, oh, it's a lose-lose situation because we're trying to pump this fan base up and give them something to believe in. But if we're just keeping it 100, if we're keeping it a buck here, Diesel, this, in my opinion, is a lose-lose situation for Carolina. It doesn't matter if they start Andy Dalton. It doesn't matter if they start Bryce Young. It doesn't matter if they start Jack Plummer from Louisville. All I'll say is you're not going to win a lot of games regardless of if the quarterback's Bryce Young or Andy Dalton. The team's no good. So my reaction to Andy Dalton getting the start is, where's this coming from? Doesn't sound like it's coming from Dave Canales because just Sunday, Dave Canales said his words, Bryce is our guy. We're sticking with it. So to me, it sounds like this is coming from somewhere up the ladder, right? Dan Morgan or Dave Tepper. I don't know which one, but yesterday, Diesel, I had the audio on this show when Dave Canales was asked if Dave Tepper influenced the decision. His exact words were, I'm not going to speak on that. I do believe somebody, whether it's Dan Morgan or Dave Tepper, influenced the decision. And it wasn't, I don't fully believe it was Dave Canales' decision.
So I'm looking at currently the CBSSports.com NFL mock draft for the first round next year. And mock draft, anything can happen. Wins and losses changes all of this, right? Number 1 overall pick, they're putting as edge rusher James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee.
Yep.
So you get the number 1 overall pick. Guess what? You can go get a quarterback of your choice. You can go get James Pierce. You need both of those things.
Yeah.
Number 2 pick, they've got Cam Ward out of Miami going to the Carolina Panthers. And if you draft Cam Ward, you're already running a system that's very similar to what he does at Miami, right? You're drafting a quarterback who, in theory, has a very similar set of skills to Bryce Young. He's just a bigger Bryce Young. He's 6'2", 225. If you don't get number 2 overall pick, you go get, I don't understand this one, Miller Moss out of USC.
I like Miller.
You go get Will Johnson out of Michigan. I mean, Carson Beck's not on the board until 6. Then you scroll down from that. Travis Hunter's on the board at number 9. Then you go a long way down before you start getting to guys like Quinn Ewers, Shadur Sanders, guys like them. They're down this board. So I think you've got a pretty good chance, if you're drafting inside the top 5, to go get the best player at a given position group that fills a need that you have because you need players everywhere.
Does it just not feel like, though, and tell me if I'm wrong here, I'm a fan of the Cowboys, so I know what deep depression feels like for an NFL franchise. 27 years of it now, 28 years now. Does it not just feel as if, Diesel, this franchise right now, regardless of what they do, they're just stuck, right? Like, they gave up so freaking much to get Bryce Young, right? They let Brian Burns walk. They've gave up so much to get what in return? And again, I really do try to pump hope into this fan base, but man, like right now, it feels like this is the lowest of lows that they've ever been, that they're having to rely on a redheaded ginger to give them hope to go win football games. This sucks. I mean, the Panthers fan base, I feel for you. It absolutely sucks being you right now. And I did want to point out a text that came in, Diesel, from the 907, and bringing receipts today on 813. You said the Panthers would get their first win against the Raiders. Still think that'll happen? LOL. It could. It could.
Look, I going into the first week in the Carolina kickoff show, I said the Carolina Panthers were facing 9 winnable games, not 9 wins, 9 winnable games. You leave Bryce Young in, that number comes down to like 4. I mean, and that's only when you're playing the worst of the worst.
Yeah. So I'll say this to answer your question, Texter. I think they can win Sunday. Is Andy Dalton the best option in the world? No, but right now he's the best option you have. Bryce just is not seeing the field well. And it surprises the heck out of me, Diesel, that Bryce Young was surprised and upset about him being benched. I mean, is he that blind? Is he that inept that he couldn't see this coming? Because, look, everybody knows it was the bad pick. You're stuck with who you have. Bryce hadn't been playing good. Andy Dalton's what, 4 inches taller, 5 inches taller?
Well, it's a sunk cost fallacy. The idea, and I've heard how many Carolina Panthers fans read how many Panthers fans tweets saying you have no choice but to start Bryce Young, right? You gave up so much to go get him. You have no choice but to play him. That's a bunch of bunk. Do you guys want wins, or do you want I told you so's that say I'm right? I knew Bryce Young stunk. I mean, you're right. They're in a lose-lose situation. You put Andy Dalton in, you go out there and win a couple of games, you hurt your draft stock.
You do.
If you leave Bryce Young in there, you're going to lose the locker room, and you got to start over from scratch.
Just blow it up, man. Blow it up.
And the problem is they're still making up for a whole bunch of really bad trades and a bunch of really bad contracts that it's going to take them a long time to dig out of this hole.
Blow the team up, move them to South Carolina, and let a football mind show them how it's done. Joey weighs in on the text line. Joey says, it's a win-now league. We've had 6 years of losing. Screw the number 1 pick, put Dalton in, and give us a chance. And I do understand Joey's point. I get it. But maybe he is better than I think. Joey, how many wins do you expect Andy Dalton to give you? Really? How many?
How many more wins do you expect Andy Dalton to give you than Bryce Young would give you?
That's a good question.
That's the question, because Bryce Young fell into that win against the Texans last year. They had no business winning that game when we all know C.J. Stroud is better. And then I think they won one more beyond that. I forget which game that was.
I'd say 2 to 3.
Bryce Young looked awful in the wins last year. When has Bryce Young shown you anything in his 18 starts that says this guy has what it takes to be an NFL quarterback? Not once. Not once. There was like a good drive in one of those wins, and that's all he's shown you.
No, you're right. He hasn't shown anything. I would say, to answer your question, and Texter, I can't read your text because from the 203, it's funny, but I can't read that one. I think to answer your question, how many more wins does Andy Dalton give you? I think he gives you the potential to win 3 to 4 more. 3 to 4 more.
That's better than 0.
It is better than 0. But again, that goes back to my point of it being a lose-lose situation. I really do think it is. Before we run, let's get to Dewey, our daily Dewey. Let's see what great philosophies, what bright thinking Dewey has today. What's up, man? Dewey, are you there? Can you hear us? Test 1, 2. You got to talk to us.
Hello?
Is this Dewey?
Not Dewey.
I'm sorry about that. That's my fault.
Well, this is much better than like Dewey. I'll tell you what.
Got to get some people of intelligence on this show.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. They had Spencer Rattler in their backyard.
Ooh.
And, in their backyard, which is what the Panthers have always done. You don't have to give up all of your picks. You just be patient. And they had Spencer Rattler in their backyard, and they passed on him. And I'm not a David Tepper. I'm not like billionaire. He's obviously much smarter than I am. But they had Spencer Rattler in their backyard, and they
caller. What makes you specifically think that Spencer Rattler would be successful at the NFL level? He was good at South
Right.
Carolina, not great. I mean, I have to question here. Just for the sake of argument. Are you a Gamecock fan? Are you speaking from the perspective of a Gamecock fan?
You don't have to spend a lot of money on him. You don't have to give up your picks.
Yeah.
You don't have to give up DJ Moore. You don't have to give up. I mean, you
They'll
don't
probably
have to
pay you to get them.
You don't have to. You don't have to blow your. Well, let me keep this. You don't have to expose yourself as much as you would to get a 5'11" guy who carries a backpack around.
And caller, I apologize. Right. What was your name again?
Marion.
Marion, you had the same first 3 digits as Dewey, and you know what? Dewey calls every day usually in the first hour, and I apologize. That's a bad insult to call you Dewey, Marion. So I apologize.
But I do thank you for like taking my call. But I have never understood why Spencer was not given. I think he's might be a little bit better than. I mean,
can't get any worse.
Can't get any worse.
Can't get any worse.
Thanks for the call, Marion.
Thank you, Marion. Appreciate
That's
you.
the insult of the day.
Yes,
there,
sir.
Calling somebody Dewey Diesel.
When we come back, Cole, I want to test you on Jeopardy football questions. I had a clip roll across my timeline this weekend where the 3 very smart people, these are trivia people. They know this stuff, right? Didn't get a single one of the questions on the Talking Football Jeopardy column. They didn't get a single one right. I want to see how Cole can do against these supposed geniuses on Jeopardy. That's coming up next here on the Fan Upstate and Wire to Wire. So, Cole, you got to be pretty smart to get on Jeopardy, right?
I would bleep my pants if I was ever on there. But yes, you do have to be smart.
You don't get on that show if you're a dum-dum.
Right.
But we also see a bunch of nerds get on Jeopardy. And I saw this over the weekend. I want to test you against these nerds, 3 of them, very smart people who not only didn't have any of the right answers, not one of them buzzed in for the entire segment with an answer. None of them had a clue about these 5 talking football questions. That was the category, talking football.
Okay.
And in this game, it was the $200, $400, $600, $800, $1,000 questions.
Yeah.
So theoretically, Cole, right now, 3,000 fictional Jeopardy dollars is on the line for you.
God.
If you know the answers to these questions, talking football.
All right, you're setting me up for failure. I think I'm going to miss one.
I think you're going to do fine.
You sure?
I think you're going to get
Okay.
4 out of 5.
Okay.
What do you think you're going to get?
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. Okay.
I'm nervous. If you say it's easy, it's going to be hard. I'm going to screw it up.
So we're going to go to the late, great Alex Trebek.
Okay.
Asking these questions. Here is the $200 question.
Football 200. Your choice. Do or don't name this play in which the quarterback runs the ball and can choose to pitch it to another back.
What is that play called?
Speed option.
Bingo.
Right?
You got the option.
Good.
It's the option. There you go. You got $200. Congratulations.
Ooh.
Now for $400, Cole.
Football 400. I can tell you guys are big football fans. Yeah. Tom Landry perfected the shotgun formation with this team.
Dallas Cowboys?
Bingo.
Good.
Look at you.
2-0.
You're doing great. And again, none of these 3 on the actual show had a clue to even buzz in. Here we go. Question number 3. This is the $600 question.
Do you think we should go to commercial? Ryan?
Take it on to 600.
Okay, by signaling for one of these, a returner can reel in a kick without fear of getting tackled.
Fair catch.
Here you go.
Okay.
You're doing great.
3 of 5.
You got a 3 out of 5.
All
This is where you thought you were going to get to. Okay?
Okay.
Here's where it ratchets up. Here's the $800 question.
Oh, boy.
2 clues left, Ryan.
800.
These penalties are simultaneous violations by the offense and defense that cancel each other out.
Offsetting penalties.
There you go. You're doing great.
Bam.
And one more. This is the one that I think you're going to get wrong. This is the one that I think
Okay.
is going to trip up Cole Bryson.
Let's look at the $1,000 clue just for the fun of it. Jimmy?
As Minneapolis's U.S. Bank Stadium prepares to host Super Bowl 52, I'm looking at the Ring of Honor with names from this defensive line that took the Vikings to 4 Super Bowls.
Oh, that's easy. Purple People Eaters.
There you go.
I got it.
Congratulations, Cole. You got $3,000 in your pocket.
Is it real cash?
No, it's not
Real
real
cash?
It's not real cash. But here was Alex Trebek's snarky ass comment when he's staring at these blank faces.
If you guys ring in and get this one, I will die.
I love it.
Can you believe smart people didn't have a clue on any of those?
No, I can believe it because, like, in our circle, we would think, yeah, they're idiots. But again, they're not even in close to the same circle that we're in, right?
Yeah, they know who ruled the Byzantine Empire in the year 12,
Right. And
but they don't know what an option play
And
is
if
called.
they asked me questions about their circles, I look like an idiot.
You don't
because
play along with Jeopardy at
It's
home?
so hard. I struggle with it big time, man.
If I play along, and it's a big board, right? If I play along and I get like 5 or 6 over the course of a game, I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
So I am terrible at any kind of trivia not related to sports. If it's film, music, I'm terrible.
And
at
there's
it.
real money on the line.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I would be the world's worst at it. I stay in my circle. I stay in my sports circle. If it's not sports or hunting or fishing, I'm clueless. I'm an idiot.
Texter asked the question, is there any foreseeable scenario where the Panthers would make another head coaching change after the season?
Oh,
No,
God.
Texter, there's no way.
Please no.
There's
right?
no way. Absolutely no way.
But then again, it is Dave Tepper.
Yeah.
It is Dave Tepper. All right. I've been excited about this guest, talking about Bryce Young. Can't wait to get his thoughts on Bryce Young, Lenora Sellers, our friend of the show, Ramon Robinson of our Elite Quarterback Academy here in Greenville, joins us next. So much to get to here in hour number 2 of the program. Ramon Robinson of RR Elite Quarterback Academy joining us just seconds from now. Also, want to remind you, coming up 1 hour from now, every Tuesday, the Tolo Takeover, your chance to take over these airwaves, one segment, whatever you want to sound off on, you can do so. So get ready 1 hour from now, right here on the Fan Upstate, as we bring in Ramon Robinson, good friend of the show, RR Elite Quarterback Academy. Love having Ramon on. And Ramon, we talked to you about a month ago, man, and it's funny that we asked this because we were talking about Tom Brady and his comments on programs being built versus guys being brought in via the transfer portal. And he was talking about guys getting thrown into the NFL way too early. And then news yesterday with Bryce Young being benched for Andy Dalton as a former quarterback, training guys on a daily basis. What do you make on the news yesterday that broke about Andy Dalton now getting the start over Bryce Young?
Well, as you know, when that article did come out with Tom Brady, you remember I responded to it in agreement with him, just because I think that, the NFL, in the pro ranks, they bring the guys, they draft the guys that's from college and bringing them in and wanting that same fan base to come along. And they're making, like I said then, they're making stars before they've earned the stars on that next level. And being forced to get out there and try to perform under the guidelines of what they're looking for is kind of unfair to the rookies. And you can kind of see it. It's not just a Bryce Young thing right now, but if you look across the NFL with some of the new faces that's drafted that are put in, in starting roles right now, even with Williams over to Bo Nix, and you can see the guys that's struggling a little bit. But like I've always said, you have that veteran guy like the Jacoby Brissett. I mentioned him. Remember, I talked about him, Jacoby Brissett, who's the starter right now. So, New England is doing it the right way in regards to allowing these guys, they were stars in college, but also let's allow them to grow to be the stars that we want them to be right now. No, they're not stars right now, starring in the three-letter word, the NFL right now. No, they're not in college anymore. At the same time, there are new stripes to be earned on that level, and I love how those programs are doing it, but I hate to see it because you're not truly getting the real example and the real ability of what those athletes are that they drafted.
Ramon Robinson of the RR Elite Quarterback Academy joining us here on the Fan Upstate. In the college game, there's the if I don't play right now, I'll transfer and go somewhere else mentality. In the NFL, that we've seen in the past some veteran quarterbacks. I'm thinking of the Ben Roethlisberger, Mason Rudolph situation where Ben said, I don't really have an interest in mentoring Mason Rudolph. When you're talking to up-and-coming quarterbacks at your camps, how do you discuss being the backup quarterback or how to treat your backup quarterback behind you when they're coming through your system? Because it seems like, not specifically with your guys, but with all of college football and even some in the NFL, there's some guys who don't know how to be backups and there's some guys who don't know how to mentor backups.
No, you don't. That's a lot of people don't. I mean, that's the thing about it. Some guys have been set on that and been on that pedestal for so long as being that guy, even from youth ball all the way up to middle school ball to high school to the college ranks, until where now when they get in a position where, choices have to be made and real executive decisions have to be made, to where some don't know how to be backups, even starters. Some starters don't know how to be mentors because they're in that ego role. I've been that guy on the professional level to where I've had younger guys come in. Now, do you embrace it that way? No, you really don't, because at the end of the day, it's every man for himself and it's a job, but then eventually you have to get it. If you're confident in your skill set as a quarterback, it's not a hard thing to do is mentor a guy and bring him along within the playbook. But are you going to see that on all levels? No, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see that. I don't really see that that's really happening in the college level, especially when we're talking about the NIL situation. And like I've always told you and I will always spoke upon is I always ask my quarterbacks to always prepare themselves to be the starter when they're standing on the sideline and put themselves in the game. And that's what I talk to them about. You may be the guy right now, but once you go to college, there's another 4-star guy that was with the same ranking as you. It might have been higher than you, but guess what? Y'all are on the same playing field right now. So now it's just a matter of who's going to be able to be the leader of this team, move this team in the right direction, and who's going to be able to do the right and proper things in the classroom and the extra work when it comes to, being the best quarterback you can, for us looking at extra film, inviting guys in to do, watch extra film. But at the same time, it's just, you got the portal out here now. Some guys, I tell them right now, start looking at the logo and look at the situation. What I mean by that is look at the better situation for you as a quarterback to be able to grow on the college level. Stop looking for the power fours now. It used to be power 5 to power fours now. And rather than going to a school that's going to be able to better fit you, and you're not going to have to get caught up into the political part of NIL transfers and things of that sort. Now, if it's a situation where that school is the best choice for you, then that's fine. But don't look at anybody else's situation when they're choosing a college, because at the end of the day, you got to choose the best situation for you in regards to you being able to go out and live out your dream of playing football.
Ramon Robinson, always love having you on, Ramon. Before we move away from the Bryce Young conversation, something that just has me very curious about his play, right? When you, as a former quarterback, Ramon, watch Bryce Young play, is there something that you put your finger on and say he's just not seeing this the right way? Or do you think, going back to what you just said, do you think he's just in the wrong situation?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. Like I told you before, is you can get that vision, and what everybody still has in their head right now is the vision of Bryce Young playing at Alabama, right? And that's just like I don't want to switch it. That's just like people looking at, okay, the situation of Tua getting hurt. Now I look at Alabama quarterbacks, especially those, and I'm gonna say this with them, those guys ain't really get hit when they were at Alabama. So their mindset is a little different. But then when you go back and you look at Tua when he got hit, and I hope he made the right decision within his career, it was kind of the same results of what's going on now. And I hate to say that, but it's just, I think time-wise, and it's not so much of what they can't do. I just think that I believe and I stand on rookie quarterbacks coming in and being able to sit and be a sponge. And that's what I want to say in regards to what I tell my guys when they're trying to be backup. Just be a sponge to what you hear the veteran doing. Just be a sponge and copycat the things that they do. I just feel like there are better situations to where, if they be a sponge, sit on the sideline and gain all the knowledge that they possibly can, I think you can see the better quarterback. I think it's just more so they forcing the hand right now with a lot of things that happen in Carolina. They pulling this guy, pulling that guy. And I just think right now, the best direction for Carolina right now is to have a veteran quarterback that can lead some of the guys that they got. You got young receivers like Xavier Legette along with the other guys. At the same time, do they need a veteran guy? Yeah, they need a veteran guy, but also Bryce needs a veteran that he can learn from to how to be a professional and how to be a real pro.
RR Elite QB Academy, Ramon Robinson joining us here on the Fan Upstate. Once a coach, always a coach, especially once you develop a relationship with a player. And there's probably a handful that you can think back on that you developed a really strong relationship with. How often do you stay in contact, especially from a coaching standpoint, with the players that have come through your academy in the past? And how hard is it to maybe, if there's a guy who wants to lean on you, who's now on a college football roster somewhere, he's maybe hitting you up like, Ramon, what do you think I should do here? How hard is it for you to say, you gotta go with your current coaches, you got to stay with them, stop coming back to me for advice that may be antithetical to what they're trying to do?
I mean, it happens. But one thing that I do myself is I watch the guys' games. I watch them. I got a setup now. I can watch every college game from D2 ball all the way up to P4 to where I can go back and watch the games. And a lot of times that, when they come to me with little things like that, I just give them a drill, not overstepping boundaries. But like I said before, at the same time, we're trying to, with this trainer instructor world, you're trying to build relationships with coaches, not build, enemies. You got what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if we all in this together and we want the best for the athlete. That's how we work together. You know what I'm saying? We work together in that situation of being able to help each other out. And I've had so much time with guys, other trainers have had so much time with guys. And when you see coaches that really reach out and want to get to know you and get to know the young man, you got to think about it. They've had that kid, 1-2 years. And I've probably been with some of these kids. I've had kids where I've been with them since the first grade. You know what I'm saying? It's where I know their different flaws. I know what they used to look like. I know what they're looking like now. And I know what happens when they get lackadaisical in that development. But like I said before, I don't overstep my boundaries, but do they reach out? Yes, they reach out and do want to know, hey, how did I look, so forth. And I may say, hey, look, Cole, you overstrapped.
Yeah.
That's why that ball sailed on you. That's why you threw the ball in the ground. You drop your elbow on a clean pocket throw when all you had to do was just come over the top and deliver the football. But those are little things that I do. I don't mix the mind up, because at the end of the day, I got too many kids to be knowing every last one of them's playbook. You know what I'm saying? So, but as far as when it comes to the fundamentals and things like that, that's where I will stay with them on that. And those are the little things that they ask and so forth. And, even though I may not know their playbook, but some of the stuff is self-explanatory, and I understand it as a quarterback to where, okay, I see what you were doing here. You should have pulled that and threw that versus giving and taking and things like that. And you should have went with this read versus that read. Yeah, those are little things, but those are quarterback talk things. But to confuse the mind between the quarterback and whether it's the OC or the D, no, that's not the job. The job is to have this kid in the best situation and work together as one to get the complete and the whole quarterback that's developing that you loved and you recruited.
Ramon, let's get to what we saw on Saturday. I'm sure you watched, just as we all did here in the upstate, South Carolina, LSU, a very good game. South Carolina falls by 3 to LSU in Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday, but Lenora Sellers goes down. Prior to him going down, and again, my opinion is just Cole's opinion. If he doesn't go down, the outcome of that game is very different. However, prior to him going down, he was playing his best ball of the year. I felt like he was very patient with the offensive line and his reads that he was seeing. Based on what you saw Saturday, what did Ramon Robinson, who trained Lenora Sellers, see for him, and what do you think that he can take forward from that performance?
Well, what I saw what I said previously when people want to, dig deep and want me to say this and say that. No, I'm not going to say that. I said exactly what I'm going to say. I said it then, I'm going to say it now. 16 was being 16. Okay?
Yeah.
16, like I said, if 16 is being 16, that's what the people in the Gamecock Nation is going to love. That's what people that may not be Gamecock fans are going to love, because at the end of the day, that's the guy that I know. That's the people in Florence. That's the people in South Florence, Marlowe, his family, so forth. If you're within that circle and you know the young man's game as a quarterback, that is him. He's a thrower first, and of course, if he got to put his foot in the ground and go, he can go. Of course, we saw that on the 75-yard escape. You know what I mean? So it's just, that is Lenora Sellers. That is him, and it actually didn't just start in. It started in Kentucky. It started from Kentucky. Just everything is development. So what they're doing is they started developing and started gelling together, and they gelled at the right time. But that's what I saw. That's what I feel like that everybody else going to continue to see, because that's him electrifying, doing it with his arm and doing it with his legs, being that leader, even though he wanted to be back out there, but he was down for a little bit. But at the same time, he doesn't go down. Even with him down, and I said this, and I talked with my brother Bobby about this, even with him going down, and I talked with his dad about it, South Carolina still should have won the game regardless, but, the referees, and I'm not one of those ones that blame the refs, but it was just too obvious with too many critical calls and in a critical moment of the game to where, the Gamecocks should have still came out of that victory, even with their starting quarterback down. And I just think that, with their defense and what they got going on and the development and the offensive line play that's going on with Carolina, I just think they're in a very good situation and a very scary team that's out here in the country right now.
Ramon Robinson, find him at rrqb.net. Coach, can you give us a player or two that you would say made the biggest impact on you as an instructor of the quarterback position? Somebody, I don't know, maybe it's early on, maybe it's a guy that's come through in the past year or two. who you would say really helped you elevate your game as an instructor? It's a big question.
You know what? I mean, of course, Kelly's obviously everybody know about me training Kevin, but there's another young man that trained with me throughout college, so forth. Actually helped him get a college gig at my alma mater a couple of years ago. Kevin Saxton, he was out of North Carolina, and Kevin Saxton is actually with the Kansas City Chiefs right now. And he was one that really leaned on me and actually with my guidance in regards to just helping him out with certain things. And we talked about little things like that, but we was in his life, and we're talking about being in his life, in our lives, a long time, man. I was with him since middle school, also. And it's just to see him grow from a high school kid to going to college. And next thing you know, coaching at his college, which was Emory and Henry, to going to my alma mater. It was just crazy. And then to now him living out his dream of being a coach in the NFL and then won a Super Bowl, man. And it's crazy. And it's just, he's one that really, that I talk about a lot, man. And also, and the other kid is Matthew Wilson, who's at App State. I think you talked about him a few times before. He was a young man that my group, not just me, but just everybody that was a part of EPT had to embrace, and he lost his father going into his senior year, and he was one of those, matter of fact, his junior year, but he was one of those kids that we had to embrace and really show what family is. You can preach family, but if you're not holding the grounds and all the things that go along with it, then it's not family. You're just pretending to be something that you're not. And he's a kid that we embrace. We brought him in, and we say nephew, man, and we really mean that. I mean, that don't just mean we love that. There's a lot of love here, and we brought him in, and we had to play that father role for him. And it's not just me. I can't just pat myself on the back. It's just everybody that was involved, just from EPT to the QB legacy, man. And it's just, we embraced him, and now he's at App State, and now we still playing the same role, and we still supporting each other and doing the things that we do.
Ramon, great stuff as always. Really, when I say I appreciate you coming on with us, I really do mean that. I think a lot of you appreciate your friendship, and our audience loves you as well. They love hearing you when you join us right here on the Fan Upstate, and we appreciate your time. Look forward to doing it again real soon.
I appreciate y'all, man, and nice talking with you.
Absolutely. That's Ramon Robinson, RR Elite Quarterback Academy. Always, Diesel, always about 1 or 10 nuggets to take away from what Ramon says, right?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that he's gonna inspire you. He's gonna make you smarter every single time he comes on the show. When we come back, we delve into the seedy, nasty, filthy world of NIL. The big changes potentially coming to NIL that could ultimately get shot right back down in court. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll talk about that next on the Fan Upstate. Could we, in the very near future, end pay for play and cash inducements to transfer, which is illegal, but we all know they do it? If the NCAA gets its way, yes, that's exactly what we're going to see the end of, which I think is probably the biggest bugaboo for most people when it comes to NIL. Just the way that this thing was sold to us, which was, hey, you do a couple of TV commercials for Dr. Pepper, DJU, you're going to get some cash. Not, hey, if you're coming out of high school and you choose Tennessee, we're going to give you an $8 million bag. That's not what NIL was supposed to be. But of course, it goes to this wild, wild west scenario very, very quickly, Cole. But in a new article posted on yahoo.com by Ross Dellinger, we both love his work. He does a fantastic job. He said that the NCAA are gearing up to file new briefs to the Northern District of California Court's Judge Claudia Wilkin that will seek to clarify what the word booster means when it comes to paying student athletes. And you're saying, well, why should they care what a booster is, right? Like, we all know what a booster is. Well, a booster could be a lot of different things. But legally speaking, they're trying to end boosters being able to use cash to induce a high school player to sign, or to induce a transfer player who otherwise wouldn't enter the transfer portal to come to their school, or to keep them from saying, oh, well, I could go here, but over there is going to pay me more money. So I'm going to go over there.
So you're saying they are trying to end or not allow that to happen.
They're trying to drastically rein in NIL and exactly what it means. So they're number one, they're seeking legal protection from lawsuits to give them the ability to enforce their rules, which to this point, Cole, has been why the NCAA has been so completely feckless. They had the authority granted by themselves and granted by, I guess, fear that if you stepped out of line, the NCAA was going to smack you with sanctions, right? They were going to shut your football program down if it got really, really bad. Looking at you, SMU. It's going to take you 40 years to come back from that, SMU. What they're trying to do, but now, like, everything they have, all the rules that they've had in place, the amateurism model, the sanctions, the rules, all that stuff is being systematically torn down by high school and college athletes with a good attorney.
Have you seen the videos on social media? And I think I find them very comical, where it's usually a plumber, Diesel, that's having to do this challenge of, like, when you, again, I'm not a plumber, so I'm going to screw up these plumbing terms, right? When you have this big pipe, right? And you're going
that's a plumbing term.
Well, that's one. Let's see how I can do on the rest of them. When you're going to release one valve, one part of the pipe, right? And the plumber's job is, once that's released, obviously water just goes firing out of it, right? At 100 miles an hour. Well, the plumber's job within like 15 seconds is to somehow put something on the pipe that stops the water long enough for him to patch the hole, right? That's the simplest terms I'm going to put it. That's what we're doing here. The valve's already been opened up so much. I think I've said this a million times. You cannot try. I don't care what kind of attorneys you have. I don't care how good your legal counsel is. This valve is already, I mean, it's like a rock slide, a landslide. And you're just trying to put a Band-Aid on a little tiny rock slide. They better have some good legal counsel.
So basically what they're seeking to do, Cole, is to the NCAA, that is, they are seeking to implement a clearinghouse, whether it be in-house with the universities or whether it be a third party whose job it is to look at any and all NIL offer proposals and give it the thumbs up or the thumbs down.
Per school?
Per school. So it could be a per school situation. It could be a national third party.
What a
could
job.
Could you imagine the bureaucracy and the red tape that comes with, I mean, you've got 85 guys on the roster at all these schools, or 64 if you're talking FCS. So now all of those guys are getting multiple NIL offers, and a clearinghouse's job is to vet all of that.
There's no way you can do that as a nation, right? Like, it's got to be done per school.
Well,
even per conference would be too much.
If you do it per school, Cole, that opens up the possibility for cheating
tampering
all
or some
over
kind of
again, right?
So
what if you're talking about
Is this the IRS?
Yeah. What if you're talking about Nico, right? You're talking about Nico at Tennessee, and he's got a huge offer. Well, if Tennessee says, Nico, like, we know that we got this booster who's going to come in and is going to give you $5 million. And but we should shut that down. But because we really want you, we're going to look the other way and let that pass.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, that then opens up the university to sanctions from somebody above, right? For letting something pass that otherwise shouldn't be passed.
And that would never happen, by the way.
Right. But their goal is to end this under the table payments, this undisclosed amount for whatever it is they choose to say it's for, and say, all right, we have to be able to vet this and say that this is a legitimate endorsement opportunity. So instead of just paying Nico $5 million or $8 million to come to Tennessee, they have to say, here's this campaign we're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to have Nico do this, and this. And we feel that's worth $8 million.
I just don't see. So this clearinghouse, right?
Yes.
I don't see I joked about the IRS a minute ago. How in the world, with the amount of schools that we have, not just schools,
138
okay,
FBS schools there are now.
Now take that and multiply it by 6, 8, 10, sports.
Yes.
Football, basketball. But I mean, there's no way you can patrol this. So listen, I'm for putting some kind of a Band-Aid on this landslide. However, this would take an act of Congress, IRS type system. Seriously.
You'd have to have a massive,
that many people.
A massive
Me and
institution
you'd have to go work for
running
them.
this thing, right? Yeah. We'll quit radio. We'll go work over there. We'll deal with the headaches. We'll start rubber stamping all these deals if we
How
can
do you even
fraction
begin though? Like, that's the thing. Everybody has a plan. Everybody has hey, this is what we're gonna. How do you actually patrol this?
Yeah, and that is part of the big question that the judge who's looking over this has about this. How are you actually going to enforce all of this? So that's what they have to be able to explain in these new briefs. They have to explain how it is they're going to patrol this thing. And then they have to be able to assuage her concerns over athletes who are having their NIL opportunities limited. Things she called this like a non-starter. Basically, she said a clearinghouse and a capped school-led revenue sharing model could take money away from athletes that are currently earning it. And that's what she called a non-starter. And that's going to be the big bugaboo. I mean, how are you going to take a guy like Nico who's making $8 million and say, hey, guess what? Now you make $6 million because we just decided that we don't like the cut of this endorser's jib. And that's going to be the big thing that they're going to be struggling with. So, number one, Cole, do we think that there's any chance in hell that the NCAA is going to be able to set up something like this clearinghouse? And both of us say no. Do we think there's any chance that they're going to be able, if they even got this thing off the ground, that they will be able to enforce it? This would take years to establish, right? This would take the NCAA built up when the sport wasn't, college athletics wasn't actually all that complex, right? And they were able to scale up over time as the NCAA, as sports across college athletics got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they were able to balloon into this behemoth that they are. There's actually rumors that it's like actually a relatively small organization, and that's why so many things slip through the cracks. Do we believe, and this is a good question here, do we believe that what the NCAA says they want, if they could enforce all of this, do we think that that's good for college football? And in that sense, I actually do. I actually do think it's good to have oversight over these massive payments that are going out. I mean, anybody, Nevin Shapiro can slide $10,000 or $10 million into somebody's pocket if he wants to. But now this is that somebody stopping it and saying, no, we don't think that $10 million payment you're giving a high school senior is legitimate.
Now, let me ask you this question. What if, and I'm just thinking here out loud, what if we talked about this being done per school, right? And it couldn't be done by a school official. However, how many schools you said there were? 135-ish. What if they were NCAA employees acting as an IRS or some kind of official organization, but each employee is assigned and works at that
university.
School. So yeah,
I
the
would
NCAA works at Clemson, right? They have
that's not a bad idea.
One rep
to say, yeah, you got 135 reps.
Yeah.
And each one of them works at a school. They're assigned to a school for a period of like 5 years.
Sure.
They cannot be entrenched for 15, 20 years because that's how corruption comes into the picture,
I feel like we're
right?
talking about money laundering and somebody from the IRS is standing over their shoulder.
You could be at Clemson for 5 years, and then you're going to move to Oregon, and then you're going to move to Liberty, and then you're going to move to Texas Tech, right? Or I mean, you don't have to actually be at those schools. It would certainly help to be boots on the ground, but that's also causing, and that's asking 135 families to uproot every 5 years. But if you're getting a good chunk of money,
where do you want me to go?
I think it's a good thing what they're proposing.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's any chance in hell that this thing gets ruled in their favor in court and then upheld against the inevitable lawsuits as soon as somebody comes in, as soon as one of these clearinghouse agents comes in and says, no, you cannot accept that money, they will get sued and this thing will get overturned.
I feel like we're watching an episode of Ozark because that happens when the IRS agent comes in and literally is having to overshadow Marty Byrd, right? Like that's what it feels like would have to happen. But the flip side of that coin is what you just said, the lawsuits. How do you prevent that from happening? I don't think there's any way to do that. I don't think there's any way to prevent the lawsuit. The lawsuits are going to happen. We've already seen them happening. And while that does seem like a good idea, every time with this entire situation, every time you feel like you find a fix, there's another leak, another leak.
And here's where this comes down to the employment model that some people think that we're headed towards, making these student athletes employees. And we know that there's going to be this revenue distribution model that's coming down the pipes. But the question is, Cole, the problem is you are now adding the revenue distribution to the NIL model, because as soon as you try to stop the NIL flood, as soon as you try to put that valve on that leaky pipe, you're going to get sued. So they're seeking the legal protection to keep them from getting sued so that they can put some form of roadblocks or bumpers, as you were so affectionately called after our Thursday stint at Spare Time.
You got to be smart.
They're trying to put some kind of bumpers on this thing, which I think most people agree would be a good thing. Trey, how do you achieve it?
Trey in Kentucky Diesel says on the text line 71307, I am a plumber. You fix the hole while the valve is closed, never after it's opened. Well, Trey, that's the problem with NIL.
I think you got to go back. Yeah,
the valve's been open,
wide open.
Trey in Kentucky also says you'll need a lot of pump trucks to clear the crap from this situation. He's right. He's right. I mean, there's no way. Like it really is. It is every time you find that piece of duct tape or PEX pipe, whatever kind of tape you use, you put it over the hole. Yeah. And another hole sprouts right behind. I don't know, when you talk about the NCAA in this situation, as much as I'd like there to be a fix, find one. Convince me how we can fix this, because I'm just telling you, it seems like what's already happened. And like Mark said on the stream, the worms are out of the can. Good luck going back. Good luck going back.
And this is, I mean, I want to grab all these people who signed off on essentially pulling the guardrails off of college football.
Sure.
Grab them by the face and say, do you realize what you've done?
But you're not going to get to do that because there's no accountability in the NCAA.
Yeah, of course not.
Nobody even knows who the NCAA really is.
If this system of guardrails was in place before they turned that valve open, we'd probably be in a pretty good spot right now. If 5 years ago, going back before NIL became a thing, if they said, hey, guess what, guys, we're going to let you earn money off of your name, image, and likeness, but we want to make sure that we're keeping bad actors out of this who are going to be throwing money at you to go to schools and to transfer to schools. We're going to let you earn money, but we just want to make sure you're not being taken advantage of and you're not being induced to transfer or to go to schools. So we're going to have this clearinghouse. They probably would have signed off on it, but now it may be too late. And I fear
it is
that as we had people talking about this new 10% surcharge at Tennessee and the potential 10% surcharge on tickets at South Carolina, they're going to have to just keep doing this more and more and more to pay for a payment structure to athletes that has no cap whatsoever, because anytime you try to put one on it, it's going to get sued into oblivion.
What mistakes did the voters in the AP poll this week? The new top 25 came out. There's some movement at the very, very top. What mistakes did Diesel and I think they made? And your thoughts, your mistakes, next.
wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan of
Tolos, we have a huge announcement to make 13 minutes from right now. And I mean 13 on the dot, baby. 13 minutes. Diesel, you ready? Tolo, take over, sound off. You've got something to sound off on. Thank you for that. That's almost as good as the original. Tolo, take over. I have something to sound off on, and it's not sports related. It's drive-through food related. Okay, I'm fed up. It's
an everyman conversation.
It really is. So
I'm with you.
If you don't know, we're trying to program it in your brain so that you do remember on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock, it's time for you to sound off. Tolo takeover. Phone lines, go ahead and put it down. Write it down with your feather and ink, or put it in your phone like we do in 2024. 844-FAN phone. That's 844-326-3663. We're giving you 13 minutes to draw up, to start meditating on what you're so upset about that you're going to try to leave an impression. And you know what? If these Tolo takeovers keep going well, we might have to crown a winner each time, because we've had some pretty good ones. Diesel, let's take a look at the AP Top 25. You know, the Georgia Bulldogs, they won on Saturday night. However, it was a close one against the mighty, mighty Wildcats of Kentucky. Are you, or do you rather have issue with Texas being the number one team before we work our way down?
Absolutely not. And that is something that I think the staff down there at Georgia is probably ecstatic about at the moment, you know, because we had another week where another player was arrested for reckless driving. And then you have an overall team terrible performance. And Kirby Smart is typically really, really good at having his team always prepared to step in and play. That's, you never heard Nick Saban's teams not being prepared. You never hear about Kirby Smart's teams not being prepared. Like, they don't have those big letdown games where they get beat by a team who should not beat them. That very rarely happens at Georgia. So Kirby Smart is going to use this as a phenomenal wake-up call. And I'll bet you Kirby Smart is hoping that Ohio State jumps them from 3-2 next week.
Little Roy Bus.
Because then you get to say, hey, guys, it's your piss-poor performance that's got us falling back to number 3.
Yeah.
I mean, one more, we're not even on the medal stand anymore.
I like it. No, I agree with you. Texas Diesel is by far the best team in the country. I mean, even with, you know, what's so fascinating is these experts during the offseason, when Quinn Ewers announced he was coming back, everybody hit panic. Everybody said, oh, no, Texas has 2 quarterbacks. Oh, no, Arch Manning's going to riot. Arch Manning's going to leave. Oh, no, this is a terrible situation. Well, guess what? It turned out to be the best situation. What other college football program, Diesel, can say that they have a Manning as their backup quarterback who's happy, who loves where he's at, and when he comes in, he'll beat your you-know-what? That's what he did Saturday.
Well, it goes to the question that I asked of Ramon Robinson earlier. Like, who's teaching these guys how to be great backups? I mean, I know it sounds antithetical to what you're there to do, right? You're there to go be the starter. But at the same time, you have to learn how to learn from the guys who are a year above you, right?
Sure.
Or 2 years ahead of you. Eventually, you're going to get your chance. And they all want to be, 2 and 3 and 4 year starters at these schools. None of them want to have to wait until their senior year to get noticed by scouts. But all it takes is one elite year, and you'll get noticed by scouts. That's just the way it happens. Look at Xavier Legette. He was god awful for his first couple of years. And then he had one great year at South Carolina. All of a sudden, he's a first-round draft pick.
Doesn't take long, does it?
No.
Doesn't take much, and you're right. Arch will have one good year next year. And
That's why
fine.
I think that might be the most valuable thing that Arch Manning has brought in with his family heritage is having Peyton, having Archie, having Eli. They all know how to get through to Arch and let him know, hey, you got Quinn ahead of you. Yeah, Quinn is really, really good. You're not going to play this year, but you're going to learn a ton from Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers will make you a better quarterback, especially as good as we all thought Texas was going to be. They're going to be blowing teams out, and you're going to get your reps, and you're going to get your opportunities in your first year at Texas. So do the right things. learn from the guy as much as you can, and you'll be that much better and that much more prepared when you finally do become the starter at Texas.
And let me just tell you, not to get off on a rabbit trail here on a different subject, but the line for the sound off for the Tolo takeover has already started 8 minutes from now.
I love it.
So if you're going to get in line, if you're going to sound off, you better do so. My man Steven's already in line for the Tolo takeover.
Do any of you Tolos have a pair?
Let's do it. Let's do it. I cannot wait. It's one of my favorite segments we just started a few weeks ago. A little movement for the Clemson Tigers, Diesel, in the top 25, moving up a spot. Hey, Nebraska, you're now 22. Northern Illinois has found themselves at number 23. Any surprise there?
Wow,
But
that one is
it really is, man.
It's a shocker. I mean, I expected Northern Illinois to start getting a lot of votes, right? You look good against Notre Dame. You beat Notre Dame, but eventually people are going to say, well, you're not playing anybody, and you're eventually going to fall back down to earth. The one thing that's a shocker to me, Cole, is to see Miami jump 2 spots after beating up on another deaf, dumb, and blind school. Like that. I mean, come on, AP
You don't
voters.
like that? You don't like that?
No. Hey, like, you look good against nobody. So, I mean, play somebody, and then we'll start moving you up and down the AP poll. When we come back, Cole, it is time for our Tolos to sound off. The Tolo takeover is next. Call in to talk about anything you want to talk about right here on the Fan Upstate. Here it is, Tolos. Your chance to bitch and moan, to take over the airwaves. You got something to say? You mad at your coach? You mad at your wife? You mad at your coach who's been secretly seeing your wife? You mad at your quarterback? Mad at a decision that your coaches and staff made? Mad at a decision they didn't make? Let's hear about it. It's the Tolo Takeover every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. We give you the chance to take over these airwaves and talk about it. Let's go first to a guy that's been hanging on the line for almost 10 minutes. That's how you know he's committed.
That's right.
Or certifiable, whatever. Stephen Webb, what's on your mind?
Now listen, this is going to hit home for a lot of people.
Uh-oh.
If you are a sauce person like I am, and you go to, we'll say, a local place called Jaxby's, and you order the chicken and you want the extra sauce because you like dipping your fries in the sauce as well, and one little cup of sauce ain't enough for your chicken to begin with, and you have to pay for another cup of sauce. By God, if I don't get that extra cup of sauce, I'm coming back in. I ain't waiting in line. I'm going to let you know right now. I've already waited my turn. I've already went through your line. I've already did everything that I'm supposed to do. You hire these little kids, which everybody needs a job. I'm not saying anything bad, but it's corporate that I have a problem with that is charging us for sauce.
Lame.
And then not giving it to us. Now, I have got to the point where I even ordered a platter, and because I was trying to do etiquette when COVID was around, I said, you know what? I'm going to order all extra sauces for everyone. Order 25 regular packets of sauce extra that they charged me almost $10 for. You think I got it?
Stephen, let me guess. This is happening to you right now in real time. Are you standing in a line at Jaxby's?
It was in line. Can't help it.
I thought you were about to walk up and let some. Oh, I thought you were about to let some poor high school senior have it for not putting in your extra honey mustard.
Hey, listen. Us big boys, we like our sauce, and if you ain't gonna give us our sauce, don't charge us for it.
I like it, Stephen. Starting off pretty strong.
Real well.
Appreciate the call in the Tolo Takeover. Diesel, that's going to be hard to beat.
That's promo right there. Us big boys, we like our sauce.
That's going to be hard to beat, man. I like it.
You got to come with fire and passion and energy.
Stephen Webb, man, starting us off on a good note on the Tolo Takeover. What do we got next?
Does Dan B have what it takes to go toe-to-toe with Stephen Webb? He's fired up today. Dan, how you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. I think Steven might he's already got me beat. It's okay.
Dan's an even keel guy. He's got to be.
Yeah. My take today is, what in the living is Nebraska doing in the top 25? And this is my favorite team. I have a tattoo of them on my shoulder. They don't belong in the top 25. And who are they facing? Another team that probably doesn't belong in the top 25 with Illinois. Neither team has beat anybody that matters.
It's the Matt Rule effect.
Nebraska.
I think it's like you're getting our hopes up. Like, what? I'm all of a sudden supposed to think that we are a legit top 25?
So are you in or are you out on Matt Rule still to this point right now?
Oh, I'm still in so far because I haven't seen anything horrible.
Okay, I thought you were probably going to be out.
Quarterback looks really good.
I thought you were going to be out until he had more time to show you something. I thought he had to earn it from you first.
I don't know, DB. I'll push.
No. I'm not saying he has earned it in that I'm all in. I'm just not out just because he hasn't. Yeah, it was not a great year last year, but it was year one. So what? He has to have time to recruit. You look at that year 3 mark, year 4 mark. That
Well, you know what? It'll be helpful. It'll be helpful for you, Dan. Is when Florida and Florida State fire their coaches, they're gonna vet Matt Rule. I promise you that. So if you don't like the guy, you might be rid of him before long.
And the last thing I'll say, DB, before we let you go, I will push back. I'll disagree. I'll say they are a top 25 team. I like what he's done, man. I know they're not the best team in the country right now, but I think they're deserving. So I'll push back. I'll say they are a top 25 team.
Okay, well, I don't think they could even beat half the teams in the Big Ten, much less the SEC. But let's see what we get the rest of the year.
There you go.
Play out on the field, not on paper.
DB, we appreciate the call, man.
Thank you, Dan. Let's go to JD, who's next up on the line on the Tolo Takeover. Every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, you got something to say. Here's your chance to sound off about it. JD, what's on your mind?
Gentlemen, well, first of all, I want to agree with Steven. I have two little boys that if you get them chicken nuggets and french fries, by golly, they need some honey mustard and some ketchup. And there's nothing more sickening than when I get home with their Happy Meals, I have no honey mustard in the fridge, and guess what? McDonald's failed to put in their Happy Meal honey mustard.
Edible food?
Hey, big boys like their sauce, little boys like their sauce.
Did you notice, Cole, that he did not thank us for taking his call?
He did?
Oh, my goodness. I thought it was the Tolo.
So you're what you're doing is you are stamping what Steven said. Is that right?
Right. Well, yeah, I'm going to stamp what Steven said, stamp it, as Jim Carrey said, and I'm going to stamp it.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp.
Yep. Can't triple stamp a double stamp, Lloyd. Can't do it. What I will say, though, too, is how about Bryce Young pretending that he is shocked that he got benched? What do you mean you're shocked? You've literally done nothing to help this team win this year, bro. How are you shocked that they benched you as a bad player? To me, that just screams that, oh, I'm a 5-star. I'm the number 1 pick. You can't bench me. Y'all have a go and be blessed. Not stressed. We'll see y'all soon.
Thanks, JD. I like that. I like the Bryce Young. How are you not shocked? And he's right.
You got to grow up, Bryce, and realize that you have sucked as a Carolina Panther and say, you know what? I deserve this. I haven't played well, but I'm going to do everything in my power to earn back my starting job. That's what a starter says.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what a starter says. Let's go next to Dewey. Dewey, what's on your mind?
Yes, I got some complaints.
Okay.
I'm tired of y'all making fun of Shane Beamer and Dabo Sweeney. Y'all get on here and make fun of them every day.
Hey, we're not making fun of Dabo. He just figured out YouTube TV.
Y'all want everyone fired. You know what? Y'all need to be fired.
Yes, I agree, Dewey. We should.
What Shane Beamer has done for South Carolina, no other coach has ever done.
So you want to say, is it both Shane Beamer?
National championships.
So is it Shane Beamer and Dabo Sweeney forever?
Yes, because they're winners. Y'all are not winners.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Dewey.
That's a good one.
Thank you, Dewey. Let's go next to Dale on the Tolo Takeover. Dale, what have you got to rant about today?
First of all, I just want to laugh at the fact that you said Bryce Young needs to grow up. I don't think he's getting any bigger than what he is now. Same goes for Tyler Murray.
Do you remember those little foam dinosaurs that came in tiny little capsules and you drop them in the bathtub and the capsule would dissolve and a big old dinosaur would grow out of it? That's what needs to happen with Bryce Young. Can we spray some water on him, see if he'll grow up?
Maybe the hair gets bigger, but that's about it. Anyway, I want to rant about what $240 million gets you. Are you ready for this?
God.
472 passing yards, 2 total touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Does that sound familiar?
It does. It does, Dale. It does sound familiar.
I could see Cole's heart sinking as you started laying out those stats. He knew exactly who you were talking about, and he's embarrassed.
I know he is, because he's the one that supported, we need to pay this guy.
Didn't he come out and say, my performance doesn't matter, I got paid?
You all season on this, Cole. I'm telling you, all season.
Well, you know what?
I
I appreciate you keeping me accountable. And guess what? Listen, I'll stand by what I said, Dale, but I'm not too ignorant to say, hey, you're right, I'm wrong. At some point, I may say those 2 words, I'm wrong, but I'm not going to do it after one bad game.
Don't worry. Wait till like week 5. It'll happen.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you, Dale.
Great stuff.
And the Tolo Takeover, we go to the phone lines again. Tom has got something to say. Tom, can you inject some positivity into the Tolo Takeovers? Thus far, it's been all negative.
Guys, I'm just sitting here on a Tuesday afternoon, And I'm wondering how in the world Clemson fans every single week can sit back and enjoy listening to Dabo Swinney talk. That man says some of the dumbest stuff a football coach has ever said. And what really ticks me off when he speaks, not because he's the Clemson football coach, but when he speaks about an ACC game, he makes it seem like it's some big ordeal. Dabo, your schedule sucks. Your team sucks, and you're the third best team in the state of South Carolina. So I hope when you go beat, sucky NC State this weekend and everybody's hoo-hawing and hollering because you beat NC State, just remember you're the third best football team in the state because the Gamecocks are still winning 9 games, guys. That hasn't changed. And I'm going to tell you this. The Gamecocks are going to beat Akron so bad this weekend that LeBron James may decide to pull his charities out of the city of Akron because the beatdown is coming. We're the best team in the state. And I'll say this about the Panthers. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. The only person in that organization that needs to be benched is David Tepper. Love you guys. Speak to y'all on Thursday.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
My face is red. My face is red. The LeBron one got me. The LeBron pulling his money out of Akron.
That's a 5 out of 5 charcoal briquettes, man. He was torched up today.
Literally, that one got me good, Tom. Congratulations. Yeah, I got a golf clap somewhere.
Yeah. You do? Oh,
that was good, Tom. That was I'll tell you what, man, Diesel, that might be this is the 3rd week we've done the Tolo takeover now.
Yep.
That one might be the best.
Best call ever?
That one might just the best Tolo takeover as well. All right, you want a quick recap? I've got a recap for you. I was doing some work back here during the Tolo takeover. You ready? So I think that Tom ended it well. However, Steven with a sauce, bringing the sauce, at the very beginning, I thought set the bar high, Diesel.
Chicken to begin with, and you have to pay for another cup of sauce. By God, if I don't get that extra cup of sauce, I'm coming back in. I ain't waiting in line. I'm going to let you know right now. I've already waited my turn. I've already went through your line. I've already did everything that I'm supposed to do. You hire these little kids, which everybody needs a job. I'm not saying anything bad, but it's corporate that I have a problem with that is charging us for sauce.
Lame.
And then not giving it to us. Now, I have got to the point where I even ordered a platter, and because I was trying to do etiquette when COVID was around, I said, you know what? I'm going to order all extra sauces for everyone. Order 25 regular packets of sauce extra that they charged me almost $10 for. You think I got it?
Steven, let me guess.
Diesel, Steven started it off pretty strong with a sauce.
Strong. Us big boys like our sauce.
What? You haven't given yours. I haven't given mine. I don't know that mine will rank up there today. There were some pretty good ones.
Yep.
Dale on Bryce not growing up was good. Dale's Dak was good. JD on the Bryce Young. Dewey, Dewey's always going to be there. I did like the DB Nebraska one saying that his team didn't deserve to be there. What is yours, Diesel? What? You're a Tolo. What are you sounding off about today?
I got to sound off about all these emails that we get asking us to take a survey after you've been on the phone with customer service. Number one, it took me 5-10 minutes to finally actually talk to somebody, right? There was this long, drawn-out process. I don't just call up, ring, hello, sir, how can I help you? No, you got to go through this long line of automation before you actually get to speak to somebody. And then at the end of this process, after you've hung up the phone, usually not getting the answer to what it is you need, they send you an email that says, hey, would you take our customer service survey? Tell us how we did. Not once have I ever gotten any kind of incentive or anything real for taking that survey. Wait a minute, you want to waste my time on the phone, then you want to waste more of my time for me to tell you that you did a mediocre job? Like, if you want me to take your survey, if you need feedback that badly, why don't you send me like $10? Take $10 off my bill for the month. That's all I'm saying.
How
It's
long
like,
did you do the survey?
no.
Okay, good.
Hell no. Why
Good,
would I
good,
do the
good,
survey?
good. I was gonna
Exactly.
say,
Why
good
would
for
I do
you.
the survey when you gave me crap service and then you're giving me no reason to actually take the survey? You want feedback? Give me something to give you feedback for.
There has to be an incentive, is
Right.
what Diesel's saying, in order to do this. No, I'm with you there. I don't know how to push back that. I don't push back on that, rather. I think that the surveys, I don't know that I've ever done one because, like you said, usually you don't get anything from them. But no pushback. I like it. Mine's food related. But before I give mine, let's go back to the phones where Johnny wants to sound off. Johnny, what you got, man?
Yeah, I got something to say. I saw some stuff on the internet that really got me going. And I'm a South Carolina fan, and I don't know what the Clemson fans are doing in the upstate, but anybody who says Cade Klubnik deserves any kind of Heisman watch because of his performance against App State, terrible. Terrible. You're playing App State. You're playing Sun Belt. You put Cade against any defense with a pulse, he gets shut down. He's worse than DJ.
Johnny, where are you seeing these? Where are you seeing these Cade Klubnik for the Heisman post? Because
I've seen it.
Well,
I've seen it. Yeah, we need to expose these people.
Oh, don't worry, they're out there because they're that darn stupid. That's how stupid they are. You got Lenore Sellers here, okay, who's just full of raw athleticism and talent, and he's already a better passer than Cade Klubnik by far. Just give him time.
Thanks, Johnny. We appreciate
Stupid is as stupid does, Ms. Blue. Appreciate the phone
He's
call,
not.
Johnny.
He is not on the Cade Klubnik Heisman train, is he? No. I mean, tell us how you really feel, Johnny. Before you, good stuff. Good stuff.
We got time for one more on the phone. Let's go to Rick, who's calling us from. I believe Rick calls in from Greer. Is that right, Rick and Greer?
Yes. And I am pissed off today, okay? I stop at my local gas station. I'm on a half a tank, okay? I don't know how much to put in it, so I put in $15. I go to put the $15 in. The first 14 go in perfect. The last dollar takes forever. I can't take it anymore, okay? And it wouldn't take the last 35 cents I had. So what do? Give them the 35 cents? No, I go back into the building where there's 12 people in line for me to get 35 freaking cents. It took me 1 hour to get $14.65 worth of gas. I am sick of it, okay?
Now, Rick, why didn't you just walk away when you saw the line was 12 people deep and you knew that was going to take you a long time?
I'm going to keep my 35 cents. That'll buy me something. I mean, I'm just not going to give them money, okay?
You got to stand on something, right?
And the people are blowing their horns. I can't make the pump go any faster, okay?
Rick, real quick, one more time. What the horn sound like, Rick?
I mean, one of them was a moped, and he's trying to cut, but wants me to move so he can get gas. I want my 35 cents. I go in, I wait in line, 18 minutes for the 35 cents. I come out. It's ridiculous, okay?
So you got 2 cents per minute. That's what you were getting back.
Yeah. Can't you make the pumps go a little bit faster? I mean, the first $14 didn't take 20 seconds, okay? Why does it take so long to get that last 45 cent or 50 cent out?
It's a great point.
Understand.
Rick, thanks for the call, man. That's a great point. It does. It slows down. And if I'm being honest with you, Diesel, a lot of times I'll leave about 20 cents on the table and I don't feel it.
Yeah, I don't go back in the store. I had that happen to me last week. I'm not going back in the store for 17 cents. What the hell's wrong with me?
All right, before we take a break, before you tell us about Ingles in just a second, Diesel, I want to tell you my gripe.
Okay.
2 days ago, I pull up to a drive-thru, and I'm not gonna say their name because it's in Bowling Springs and it's a franchise. But I pull up to a drive-thru to order dinner, and guess what I get?
Not free sauces.
Thank you for your visiting, or thank you for visiting blank store. Go ahead with your order. AI is what I got. It was AI. So I said to AI, I said, I'm ready to order. And AI said, please proceed with your order. And I said, wait a minute. I come here at least twice a week for breakfast and lunch or dinner. And I've got AI talking to me. So I asked AI, I said, hey, I saw that you had a new menu item. I'm not going to say the menu item because it'd give it away what I was talking about. Couldn't tell me. Couldn't tell me about the new menu item. Couldn't tell me what kind of sauces they had on the new menu item. Couldn't tell me if they were better one way or another way. Again, I'm kind of giving it away here. But I asked about 4 questions and got no answer from AI. So I pulled forward to the window and I asked the guy who's at this point like, what is this guy doing, right? He's already fed up with me because I'm back here yelling at AI. I say, hey, man, look, my exact words were, what the heck is that? He said, oh, it's brand new. We started it today. It's AI. That's how you have to order. And I said to him, respectfully, that's the worst thing I've ever done in my entire life. I'll never come back here. If I have to order through AI. Is that too much? Is that wrong of me to say, I'm not going to give you my business if I can't talk to a real freaking human being? I mean, seriously, man.
Cole, do you realize that at 27, you're going to be doing the same thing at 57 and 87 as you're doing right now at 27? Arguing with
ridiculous.
Robots.
I'm arguing with AI out there, and I can't even freaking ask about their new menu item because AI doesn't know about it.
Pathetic.
It's pathetic. It's a sad world we live in. Great Tolo takeover today, though.
Let's do it again next Tuesday.
Let's do it again. We set the bar high, Tolos. Appreciate the heck out of you. Let's go back to Lenore Sellers next. I have a question, Diesel, and it's a little bit of a concern. Not a huge concern, but I do have a little bit of a concern when you talk about Lenore Sellers and the Gamecocks. Your thoughts as well next. Diesel, I'm still laughing. I'm still trying to get over some of those calls. Tom ending with a good note. I'm sorry, Tom not ending. We had two more after that, but some pretty good ones today. I mean, set the bar high, Tolos. Really proud of you. Heck of a performance in the very last segment. Tolo Takeover every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Put it on your calendar. We'll see you again next Tuesday. Diesel, I have a question. You know, we asked Ramon Robinson, who, by the way, was a fantastic interview in the 4 o'clock hour. We asked Ramon Robinson about Lenora Sellers, and, you know, I've watched South Carolina in person twice this year, and what I saw Saturday was a really patient runner in Lenora Sellers compared to Old Dominion when I felt like he got the ball and took off a little too early sometimes. He was very patient, in my opinion, against LSU. However, is it a bad spot? Is it a tough spot to have a quarterback like Lenora Sellers who has a really good arm, but is also dynamic with his legs? And the reason I bring this up, Diesel, is he has now missed 3 quarters of 12 in 2024. We all know he plays in the SEC. When you run like Lenora Sellers does, there's a risk of injury, as we all know. I know he didn't get hurt on a run play against Saturday, but moving forward, if you're on that coaching staff, do you have an ounce inside of you that fears what could happen to Lenora's the way he runs? Because we saw Robbie Ashford very one-dimensional. He's not good, not in the SEC. He wasn't good on Saturday. I know he's a college player, but he wasn't good on Saturday. So South Carolina finds themselves, Diesel, in a tough spot, now wanting to be able to run Lenora's, but also risking him going down. He's already missed 3 of 12 quarters. Like I said, on the season, he has 40 carries for 145 yards. That's a big part of his game. I'm not saying quit running Lenora's, but is this conversation and this quarterback in Lenora's, is this now a risk for cause for concern for the rest of the season?
Well, it's a risk every time you snap the football, right? There's a risk anytime somebody comes off the blind side and sacks you from behind, right? There's always a risk. It's a dangerous game. It's a risky game.
Yeah.
Like, how do you tell a coach not to let Denard Robinson run the ball? How do you tell a coach not to let Vince Young run the ball, or Lamar Jackson, or Deshaun Watson,
Sure.
or Armani Edwards? Like, I just feel like you can't play afraid. You don't put a governor on a Ferrari. So you got to let these players play to their fullest potential, assuming that they are telling you they are feeling 100% going into the game. Now, if Lenora's tells you, sorry, coach, my ankle's a little sore today, I just don't feel like I can plant real well. All right, then you adjust your play calling for that game. Also, they're going to wonder why you're not running the football. They're going to wonder, you're maybe adding a little wrinkle into the game by not doing something. It's just, I just don't think you can play scared. And if you got a player who, for all intents and purposes, is full go with his arm and with his legs, you let him do both, right? You let him cook.
No, I agree with you. I do not buy into the philosophy of reining back someone who can run like a deer. So I do agree with you in that sense. However, I do think it's interesting from a philosophy standpoint of the coaching staff on how you coach quarterbacks differently with different skill sets, right? Because Spencer Rattler, or let's take any other quarterback that's more of a pocket guy, you talk about that quarterback and the schemes and the philosophies that you have, you're able to play with a little more freedom, in my opinion, because you don't have that risk there. Now, when you get into the game starts. I don't think the coaching staff and the quarterback call plays and run plays with that risk sitting on the back burner. I just think that in the SEC, when you have a quarterback that runs as much as Lenora's, the injuries, hopefully, Diesel, they're limited. Hopefully this kid stays healthy because he is absolutely phenomenal when he's healthy.
Yeah.
I just worry about him running like he does in the SEC. And I asked him after the Old Dominion game if this was going to be part of the game plan every week, being so run heavy. And he told me it was going to be based on week to week, based on what the defense showed on film.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could scheme. If you knew you were playing against a team that's really good off the edge, right, really just does not allow mobile quarterbacks to pick up a lot of yards, then maybe you can scheme to kind of reduce that as much as you can. You try to set up options where where you're not going to be putting Lenore Sellers in a position to take off and run the football very often. I don't know, man. I don't think that you can. I don't think you can play that way.
I don't want to play scared either. If I'm the coaching staff, I want to play to where I can allow him to have the best attributes possible on the field so that he can take advantage of the defense. Now, what I saw Saturday was him being a lot more patient as a runner. And texter from the 344 says, I actually said Sellers may get hurt before the year because of running. I thought Ashford was closer to being able to throw the ball. That's my issue. Well, my only point with that texter would be, look, I'm not saying play scared. I do not buy into that philosophy. I hate that. To your point, Diesel, I agree with you. However, I'll tell you this. When I saw what I saw on Saturday from Robbie Ashford, boy, does it make me take a step back? And again, I'm not a coach. I'm not a college coach. But when I saw Robbie Ashford on Saturday, I said, oh, boy, I hope Lenore's don't get hurt again because that dude's one-dimensional. He wasn't good on Saturday, and no disrespect to him, but when he's on the field, they're a different offense. Everybody talks about, oh, South Carolina looked so different when their starting quarterback went down. Well, guess what? Diesel newsflash. Most quarterbacks, most offenses do look different when their starter goes down. That's why the backup's the backup and not the starter.
Yeah, we have a texter here who asked this question. Diesel, do you think Armani Edwards would have a better shot in today's NFL at quarterback? That comes in from Jacob. Jacob, that's a tough one to say because
App State guy, right?
Yeah, he Armani Edwards was 5'11", 185 pounds. Like he's not that much bigger than Bryce Young. At the FCS level, where everyone's a little bit shorter, a little bit narrower than they are at the FBS level, Armani was an elite quarterback. You couldn't touch him. There's a reason why he was a 2-time Walter Payton Award winning quarterback. But if you're telling me if you stuck Armani Edwards in the SEC right now, well, then I'm telling you he's about 3 inches too short and about 20 pounds too light.
Too light.
And, of course, that problem just gets exacerbated a little bit more in the NFL.
Was he the same size as Lamar? I mean, I know you don't look right now. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but he kind of had the same build. If I remember right, and you probably watched him a lot more in college than I did, he kind of had the same build as a person, kind of like Lamar did.
According to Google, Lamar Jackson is 6'2", 215. And Armani Edwards.
What was his weight?
215.
So,
and Armani Edwards is 5'11", 182.
Oh, my God.
This is according to.
Wow.
Now, it all depends on where you look, right? I mean, you go on, here's the old App State Athletics profile on him, and here he's 6', 185. So somehow he gained an inch and 3 pounds. So you never quite know what's accurate. When you see an NFL profile or a college profile, I always like subtract an inch and about 5 to 10 pounds.
Sure.
And that's probably the reality. But he was a slight guy, and he used his shiftiness to be successful and to gash defenses by just flat out being faster than them. And I don't know that would be all that successful in the NFL because you got linebackers who are super fast and can close so much faster than they can at the college level.
Texter says that is exactly my point. I thought our offense would be about the same between Sellers and Ashford. We were never told Ashford couldn't throw. Well, Texter, no disrespect here, but if you thought the offense would be the same between Sellers and Ashford, that's on you. To think that the offense with a backup is going to perform the same way as a starter? Come on. I mean, there was the thought that Robbie Ashford was legitimately pushing Lenore Sellers. We were sold a lot of that, and that could have been misdirection from the coaching staff on the teams that he was going to be playing, that they were going to be playing early on, so they couldn't really know who to game plan for. Texter said, Auburn fan here. Robbie Ashford was garbage at Auburn and is garbage at USC and should have stayed at Oregon playing baseball. Texter says, if he was so one-dimensional, why did it take so long for Sellers to be named outright starter? I hope their offense wouldn't change much between the two. Texter says, look at the combined measurements. They are as accurate as you're going to get. Another Texas didn't look too much different from the 3-2-3. Look, Robbie Ashford, he plays college ball. No disrespect there. I'm not going to sit here and just, bash the guy. However, if you watch the game and you couldn't see the difference between the starter, QB1, and Lenore Sellers, and Robbie Ashford, I don't know what to tell you. All I'm saying is you better hope Lenore stays healthy because that offense is completely different with Robbie Ashford out there. He's not the same guy. Does he get better? Maybe he does. You'd hope so, but boy, it's a lot different.
You know, I just think you got to use the players that you have and that are healthy and that are ready to go to their fullest potential until you don't have them anymore. Whether that's graduation, portal, injury, whatever it is that causes a guy to not be on your roster anymore, you got to use those pieces, right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's like putting a Porsche in the garage. Why would you do that? You know, just put it in there, leave it in there. No, you gotta use these guys to their fullest potential, because if you're Shane Beamer, you're fighting for your job this year. We're all feeling good about Shane Beamer after the last couple of weeks, but it wasn't that long ago where we had even a lot of Gamecock fans calling in and saying things like, I don't think Shane Beamer's a guy. I think we got to move on from him after this year. I mean, there are people who think that, and there are people who may think that later on this season, once you get into SEC play and if things don't continue to trend upwards the way they have.
Shane Barrett, man, you terrible. Not going to read it, but not far off.
When we come back, Cole, let's take a whip around look at the sports world, what's happening out there in our daily wires. It is a big sports world out there, and we don't get a chance to talk about everything on the show. So we do a little whip around for you. Talk about the highlights, the biggest buzz happening in the sports world. These are your daily wires. The Atlanta Braves lost last night to the Dodgers 9-0. Split the series 2-2. So average baseball from the Atlanta Braves. They are at the Reds tonight. 6:40 first pitch. Grant Holmes on the mound for the Atlanta Braves. No playoffs in sight for the Bravos.
No playoffs.
Monday Night Football last night. The Falcons beat the Eagles 22-21 in come from behind fashion.
So mad about that.
Kirk Cousins threw for 241 and 2 touchdowns. Sorry, Michael Penix. You're not getting in the game anytime soon. Jalen Hurts threw a pick with 27 seconds to go to ice the game for Atlanta. If you look at the ESPN chance to win graph, with 1:56 to go in the fourth quarter, the Falcons' win expectancy was 2.4%.
It's bad.
And they came back to win the ball game.
That's bad.
Incredible.
I had the cheese on the wrong side of the game. Let me just say it that way last night. I didn't think the Eagles would lose at home. However, boy, was I wrong. I was upset about that.
We spent some time talking about this earlier in the show. The Carolina Panthers announced yesterday that Bryce Young has been benched for Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket. He's going to come in and play.
Bye, Bryce.
Yeah, bye. I honestly, I don't know that there's a way that Bryce Young gets back on the field this year. That's not mop-up duty.
That's not good.
I mean, Andy Dalton, he's old AF. He's 36. But, he's a serviceable quarterback. And he's been in this system, well, as long as Bryce Young has. He's been with this team for a while. He's been in the locker room for a while. It's not like he's just walking in off the street and having to learn the system. This isn't what they did with Baker in LA a couple of years ago, where he studied the playbook on the plane and then went out there and won a football game.
True.
That's incredible.
That's called being a gamer.
That was right after the Panthers traded him to the Rams, by the way. Cole, this is fascinating. I don't know if you heard this. Biff Poggi, I forget how our friend Shane Connick pronounced it for us. He went on a rant against Charlotte students who left early after it looked like they were going to lose to FCS Gardner-Webb. They came back to beat Gardner-Webb. This is Biff Poggi, head coach of Charlotte, in the post-game press conference.
No, you probably should have gotten all your money's worth by staying for the whole game. And for those that weren't here that were saying whatever they were saying on social media, just grow up. Get out of your grandmother's basement.
Tell us how you really feel, Coach. He told the upset, angry Charlotte 49er fan that they should grow up and get out of their mama's basement.
That's pretty good.
Yep. Let's see. A fire alarm went off during Mike Norvell's post-game press conference after losing to Memphis. Here's what that sounded like.
That's all it takes to change it. And, we just, obviously have had some opportunities that, that we needed to respond in those situations. But I think from their attitude, their approach, even they're in the locker room all disappointed. As we continue to work and continue to pour into each other and the opportunity we have.
Shout out to the guy Diesel. Thanks, Coach.
The fact that the voiceover for the fire alarm said, "You are to leave the building immediately."
Did she fire Mike Norvell right then and there? Is that what she said?
Florida State Seminoles. Remember when we were both ranking DJ in our top 5 ACC quarterbacks? Oh, so wrong about that.
So hoping you didn't bring that up.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin says that Wake Forest violated an unwritten rule by buying its way out of next year's matchup, the one that would be in Oxford, leaving Ole Miss in a lurch to seek out another major conference opponent. He said, quote, "Now we've got to go find somebody, and most people are all scheduled up. And even when you find somebody, you've got to go pay them. It's kind of an unwritten rule not to do that, actually."
Diesel, he's not even going to be there. Why does he care? He's going to be in Gainesville.
Yeah.
He's going.
I don't understand this, honestly, from a Wake Forest perspective. I don't understand why you canceled. I know you got curb stomped.
Yeah.
In your home stadium by Ole Miss, but you don't do this, right? This is an opportunity to be scared. Yeah, you're scared. You're scared. Cole, this one is going to affect you in a major way. The Boston Marathon has lowered qualifying times for the 2026 race.
So what you're
asking
saying
runners to now finish 5 minutes faster than before.
So I can enter?
You can. You can. It says they say they're doing it because runners have just simply gotten better and faster
like me,
over
right?
the years. So, Cole, you would have to, and this is for your age bracket, you would have to run 26.2 miles in 2 hours, 55 minutes to qualify for the Boston Marathon.
Okay, say that one more time.
2 hours, 55 minutes for 26.2 miles.
Time out.
How many miles do you think you could make it on foot here? On foot. No cheating, no bikes, no roller skates. How many miles could you make it in 2 hours and 55 minutes?
Did you say 26 miles?
26.2.
That's what they run?
It's a marathon.
That's what a marathon is?
Yeah, that's the distance between the battlefield and Marathon, Greece.
And you walk it or run it?
You run it. You can't walk 26 miles in 3
You
hours.
can't run that many miles without having a heart attack.
The Kenyans can.
There's no way.
Yeah, they're elite at it.
You're telling me people run 26 miles in 3 hours?
Yep. And that's the requirement just to qualify. That's not what the winners are doing.
What are they running from? I'm serious.
Shame.
I mean, what? Gosh, no. To answer your question, no. I cannot do that. I cannot. Again, that's 3 hours. I mean, what does it usually take the run? I mean, I'd be passed out after 2 miles on the side of the road looking for donuts.
We'll have to see if we can get the winner's time from last year's Boston Marathon.
Oh, God.
The University of Tennessee has announced they are adding a 10% talent fee surcharge on ticket sales to help pay the $22 million payout to athletes next year. South Carolina has announced that they are also discussing it. So your tickets might go up by 10%. Those of you season ticket holders, have fun getting screwed. Have fun. Those of you who said paying players was a good idea, you're the ones paying them, not the schools. You are paying them. And then finally, Mike Tomlin announced that Justin Fields is expected to be the starter for week 3 for Pittsburgh versus, I almost said San Diego, the LA Chargers.
Good.
2-0.
He should be. He's better than Russell Wilson.
Playing well.
He's better.
Russell's still hurt. Playing well.
Speaking of still hurt, there's a lot of Tolos still hurt on the Upset Pigs Challenge with 0 points. We're going to have a study session, okay? We did this last week. I told you to get your number 2 pencils out. I didn't take my own advice, Diesel, because I went sour on the Upset Pigs Challenge. I missed the boat big time. But we're going to do a little Upset Pigs Challenge study session for class that starts tomorrow at 4 o'clock. A busy week for you Tolos. What I mean by that, well, tomorrow the Upset Picks Challenge opens at 4 p.m. Diesel, DB, and the entire cast of make-believe characters that help them with the Tolos Upset Challenge brought to you by Ingles. They lock those things in, those bad boys. They lock them in tomorrow at 3 o'clock. The spreads will be locked, case closed, fold them up, hang them up, put them up. You can't access them anymore. You can't change them. The Upset Picks Challenge brought to you by Ingles. If you haven't got in the challenge yet, well, don't fret. It's not too late. It's not too late to do so. Diesel has told you multiple times that the Upset Challenge is very, very simple. All you have to do is pick an outright underdog to win the game. For example, South Carolina's a 10-point dog. You have to pick them to win the game, and if you hit it, if South Carolina wins, you get 10 points. You take 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Beginning tomorrow, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. We need your name, the game, and the amount of points that you want. Diesel, I did not have a good week last week. Middle Tennessee, they're a disgrace. They're a joke of a program. I'll never pick them again. And they let me down, man. They were 7-point underdogs.
Yep.
They lost by 28. 28 points. I mean, what are you doing, Middle Tennessee? I don't even know anything about you other than you're somewhere in the middle of Tennessee. You're not important enough to even have a real name, so they just give you a directional name, and I go with you, and you make me lose and make me look like a fool. So I've got to find a better pick this week.
Yeah, well, I didn't do any better. I picked Arizona to upset Kansas State, and they got beat 31-7.
Wow.
7 points in the first quarter, and then nothing.
Rough week
for the rest of the game. I didn't get a chance to watch that game, but I'm looking at the box score right now, the stats. Noah Fafita threw for 270 yards. Most of the time, when you throw for 270, you've had yourself a pretty good day. Right?
Was that their first loss? I think that was their first loss.
Yeah, that's their first loss of the season. I'm just looking down the list of games here. Arch Manning threw for 223 in their 56-7 win over UTSA. Yet somehow Noah Fafita throws for 40 more yards.
Wow.
And only scored 7 points.
So
the hell happened in that game?
I feel for you. I had a bad week as well.
Jalen Milroe threw for 196 and 3 touchdowns.
And still won.
And won 42-10.
You're down bad right now. That's all I can say.
Livid.
You're down
with
bad.
my upset picks.
But, big but. The good news, Diesel, you and other Tolos, and I went through the standings yesterday. You and a lot of other Tolos have an opportunity this weekend to make up some ground.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance, and you can pick a winner this week if you pick the betting underdog to outright win the game. So during this study session, the study session didn't go well last week because you and I both went over. So if the Tolos, if you have a game that you're looking at, that you're eyeing, that you're giving a side eye for tomorrow's contest that begins at 4 p.m., let us know on the text line, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Phone lines are also open as well. 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. It's a renewal by Anderson, the Carolinas fan phone. If you had to take a look and find an early lean or two, Diesel, are you able to do so? Are you able to find some games that might catch your eye for tomorrow?
Yeah, I've got a few that kind of peeked out at me, and they're all kind of all over the map when it comes to what the spreads are in these games. Number one, I looked at Illinois, who are 10-point dogs on the road at Nebraska. I am not sold on Nebraska yet at this point. We even had Dan B call in and say, what the hell are they doing ranking Nebraska? I don't get that one. But again, it's Illinois. So you just never quite know. That's 10-point, that's a 10-point game. Maybe interested in that one. I looked at and this is my Hail Mary. I don't think I'm at this point of the season. I've got Arkansas State plus 22 at Iowa State.
Ooh.
Iowa State has not exactly been lighting up the scoreboard this year. Arkansas State are ball hawks. They got 3 interceptions at Michigan and still got blown out in that game. But I like Arkansas State because they're really good defensively against the pass. And then I've got Buffalo plus 14 at NIU, the team that upset Oregon. Buffalo's putting up a ton of points against similar and lesser opponents. They played some Power 5 school and got their asses kicked. But they're playing pretty good defense, and they can score a ton of points. Oh, they played Missouri and got beat like 38-0.
Okay.
So
I hate that.
I kind of like that one.
I don't hate it. I'm looking through, and you know what? I'm not like DB, who's very good at this challenge. He has a strategy. Other people who are good at this, Amazon guy, I don't know what his strategy is, but it must be pretty dang good because he's leading with like 30-plus points. But I don't have a strategy. Maybe I need to develop a strategy, but I look through these list of games, and I'll tell you this week, just looking, and I know there's a bunch of games, but I don't see a ton of games that jump off the page to me. I'll tell you this, the only game that I did see in any early time slot, Diesel, that I would lean towards would be Louisville -10 hosting Georgia Tech, a good Georgia Tech team, a Louisville team who's 2-0 but hasn't played anybody, right? Maybe Georgia Tech comes in, and look, Georgia Tech's played some good competition. They know what they're going up against in Louisville. Maybe Georgia Tech goes on the road and knocks them off. They're 10.5-point dogs. I kind of like that game. I like Haynes King. I like Brent Key. The Georgia Tech-Louisville game, does that one interest you at all?
Not really.
No,
not
faith
really.
in our guy Brent Key.
No, I think Louisville's just going to overpower him.
Oh, geez.
They're going to overpower him. Georgia Tech plays an ugly football stadium also. I know that doesn't matter, but it sticks in my head no matter what. No, I'm not willing to take that one. Here would be one that I would look at if it was worth more points. It's Virginia, 3.5-point favorites on the road at Coastal Carolina.
Ooh. So
the game's being played in Conway. You could get 3.5 points for Coastal Carolina at home against Virginia.
The small amount of points, it may be a smart strategy. However,
it's not going to win you.
It's not going to win. I'm too impatient. I cannot do week to week of 3.5, 4.5, 4.5. 3. I've got to go big. I've got to go at least like 10 points, right? Maybe 7, maybe 8.5. Conway hosting Virginia this weekend. So Tony Elliott going down to Conway.
To Brooks Stadium.
How about Oklahoma, Tennessee? That game, 7:30, in the Upset Picks Challenge brought to you by Ingles. Tennessee's a 7-point favorite at Oklahoma. So the Sooners are at home, 2 undefeated teams, one of the better games this weekend. By the way, where's college? I need to see where college game day is going to be. Tennessee, Oklahoma, Diesel, 7 points. I don't know that I have a ton of faith in Brent Venables because I've liked what I've seen from Tennessee this year. But I just 7 points is an amount of points that I do look at and think, okay, Vegas is saying this is going to be a touchdown game. I would think that this game in the fourth quarter is a one-possession game. It should be a close game. I just don't have enough faith. I haven't seen enough from the Sooners yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not super sold on this one. Tennessee has looked really, really good. Again, against basically nobodies. They played Chattanooga, NC State, who are proving that they are nobodies themselves, and Kent State. I mean, I don't have enough fingers and toes to count the number of touchdowns that they've scored this year. 69 points against Chattanooga, 51 points against NC State, and 71-0 versus Kent State. So
is that it?
Yeah, we don't know that much about Tennessee other than the fact that they live in the end zone.
They do.
What are they going to be when they actually have to go against a decent defense? I mean,
it's a good point.
Yeah.
The SEC games are tough. You would think that having the same philosophy as betting in the NFL would carry over to the SEC. What I mean is, in the NFL, when I put money on games, when I do put a little cheese here and there, I like taking big spreads because in the NFL, games are close, man. There's not a lot of blowouts in the NFL.
Unless you're the Carolina Panthers.
Okay, good point. Or
bet the over.
Or the Dallas Cowboys this weekend because Cowboys got blown out. So the SEC kind of translates the same way for me. You would think that these games like Tennessee, Oklahoma, going back to that game, you would think, oh, okay, if Tennessee's favored by 7 on the road, That game in the fourth quarter may be tied. Oklahoma may have a chance. Both quarterbacks are really good. I just don't know that Brent Venables has that team yet. I think Tennessee's a playoff team for sure. We're going to find out, though, if Oklahoma's a playoff team on Saturday.
Could I interest you in Michigan as 6-point home dogs
I saw that, man.
against Southern Cal?
I saw that. I looked at that game. Michigan's at home, right?
Mm-hmm. When they play, the only time they played a real defense this year, they lost 31-12 when they played Texas.
I don't hate it. However, I'm high on Miller Moss, man. I really am. I like Miller Moss. I think Miller Moss is an underrated quarterback that might have a good NFL career. I've liked the intangibles that I've seen from him. However, even though Michigan's is it 6.5? You said
6.
That's an intriguing take, and you know what? Being at home in the big house like that matters, right? USC showed at the very beginning of the season, the night before Labor Day, USC showed that they are vulnerable in certain areas. I just don't know that Michigan has enough. I don't hate Michigan. I think that's an intriguing game. I may end up taking it. However, I think I like Miller Moss more than I like Michigan right now.
Here's one that I'm really interested in. I'm taking a big look at this one right now. It's Michigan State.
I saw that one
at
too.
Boston College.
Yep.
Boston College are 6.5-point favorites at home.
Both teams undefeated.
Both teams have played Power 5 opponents already this year. Boston College lost 27-21 last week.
Missouri.
At Missouri.
Good Missouri.
At Missouri. Yeah,
right.
On the road. They beat the crap out of FSU. Michigan State won 27-24 on the road at Maryland.
Yeah.
They played FAU. Yeah. They played Prairie View. Yeah. So both of these teams have played a couple of nobodies. And when they've actually played a decent football team, both have played tight football games. So, I mean, this one to me seems like a toss-up. Is it worth it at 6.5 points to take Michigan State to upset BC on the road?
You know, I don't know a ton about Michigan State, but I will tell you this, Diesel. I am surprised. Instant reaction to that game. I'm surprised that game's not more like 8.5, 9. I thought Boston College would be favored by a little more, by a few more points. So to answer your question, no, I think I trust Bill O'Brien more. I really do. I like that loss, it's a loss Saturday, Missouri, but could you have asked for anything more? They played them really well on Saturday. To your point, you said it, on the road, a very good Missouri team, a very good coach. Boston College, Diesel, let's call it like it is here. Boston College has no business going on the road and hanging with Missouri, an ACC bottom feeder against Missouri. Mm-hmm. Boston College usually gets blown out, but Boston College isn't the same Boston College that we're used to seeing. I believe in Bill O'Brien. I believe that Boston College wins against Michigan State. Now, I don't have a ton of faith in Michigan State. They've been bad. They've been down bad for quite a few years now. I just like what I've seen from Bill O'Brien. Now, you're not going to get many points, but this is terrible for me to even bring up. And Madcraft and DB on the stream, and JB's in there as well. They're giving some good ones. If you're on the stream, there's 103 people right now.
I had to look it up, by the way, and see who is Michigan State's head coach. It's Jonathan Smith, who spent 6 years at Oregon State previously.
That's right. So here's my question. You're not going to get any points for this except for 2 measly points.
Mm-hmm.
But are we confident that Florida State beats 3-0 Cal? I mean, do you want 2 points?
No.
Do you want an easy 2 points right now?
No, they're going 0-4. They're starting 0-4.
Cal's 3-0, Diesel. Cal's 3-0. I know it's only 2 points, but 2 points is better than -1, right?
No
How many do
chance.
you get deducted if you lose?
You lose 1 point.
Okay, so you basically could have a 3-point swing here. No, that game's not enough points to take or look at 7 o'clock on Saturday. However, only 2 points. Are we serious right now? Like, if we're talking about putting money on it, you only think – I mean, Florida State -2. What have they shown Vegas to be a favorite at home at Doak Campbell Stadium, where I don't know what the attendance is going to be, but it probably won't be the best.
This feels like one of those weeks, Cole, where you dig into the G5.
Ooh,
because
okay.
the P5 ones aren't really all that fascinating, aren't all that interesting. Those are a little tough to call. I mean, would you take Charlotte at Indiana? No, you wouldn't.
No, but what about here's an intriguing game, and I don't know why 6.5 is the line here. East Carolina at Liberty, only -6.5. Is East Carolina that good? Or is Liberty just not? I mean, I know Liberty doesn't play anybody, but
yeah. I mean,
only 6.
App State played East Carolina last week. Their quarterback's a little mistake happy.
Okay,
he throws a lot of picks. I think he threw 2 or 3 picks in that game. Not to say that Joey Aguilar at App State didn't throw 2 picks against them also.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one. Memphis on the road at Navy.
Literally stole the words out of my mouth.
Navy
I was about to say it.
Has put up a ton of points. Are at 49 in their first game, 38 in their second game. Memphis is not, they put up 20 points on Florida State, 38 points on a very depleted Troy.
Diesel, I don't hate that.
That's not a bad pick.
It's not.
I mean, the way that Navy is playing defense this year, which they've given up 32 points in 2 games.
Oh,
so 15.5 points on defense. They're
Memphis
averaging.
Is good, man.
Memphis is really good, but could they be riding a little high off of that Florida State win?
Well, it could be.
And mess up and lose to Navy.
Navy's a tricky team. They always are. Seth Hennigan's a good quarterback, but you know what? I was looking at that. That's intriguing, man. I tell you this, I have not made my pick yet. There's a lot of tough games this week, but that's going to be one of my contenders. One of the 3 that I write down and look at for next week. All right, we talked to Ramon Robinson. We had a fantastic conversation with him earlier in the show. We'll have that for you next. So much to get to here in hour number 2 of the program. Ramon Robinson of RR Elite Quarterback Academy joining us just seconds from now, because we were talking about Tom Brady and his comments on programs being built versus guys being brought in via the transfer portal. And then he was talking about guys getting thrown into the NFL way too early. And then news yesterday with Bryce Young being benched for Andy Dalton as a former quarterback, training guys on a daily basis. What do you make on the news yesterday that broke about Andy Dalton now getting the start over Bryce Young?
Well, as you know, when that article did come out with Tom Brady, you remember I responded to it in agreement with him, just because I think that, the NFL, in the pro ranks, they bring the guys, they draft the guys that's from college and bringing them in and wanting that same fan base to come along. And they're making, like I said then, they're making stars before they've earned the stars on that next level. And being forced to get out there and try to perform under the guidelines of what they're looking for is kind of unfair to the rookies. And you can kind of see it. It's not just a Bryce Young thing right now, but if you look across the NFL with some of the new faces that's drafted, that are put in, in starting roles right now, even with Williams over to Bo Nix. And you can see the guys they're struggling a little bit. But like I've always said, you have that veteran guy like the Jacoby Brissett. I mentioned him. Remember I talked about him, Jacoby Brissett, who's the starter right now. So, New England is doing it the right way in regards to allowing these guys, they were stars in college, but also let's allow them to grow to be the stars that we want them to be right now. No, they're not stars right now, starring in the three-letter word, the NFL right now. No, they're not in college anymore. At the same time, there are new stripes to be earned on that level, and I love how those programs are doing it, but I hate to see it because you're not truly getting the real example and the real ability of what those athletes are that they drafted.
Ramon Robinson of the RR Elite Quarterback Academy joining us here on the Fan Upstate. In the college game, there's the if I don't play right now, I'll transfer and go somewhere else mentality. In the NFL, that we've seen in the past some veteran quarterbacks. I'm thinking of the Ben Roethlisberger, Mason Rudolph situation where Ben said, I don't really have an interest in mentoring Mason Rudolph. When you're talking to up-and-coming quarterbacks at your camps, how do you discuss being the backup quarterback or how to treat your backup quarterback behind you when they're coming through your system? Because it seems like, not specifically with your guys, but with all of college football and even some in the NFL, there's some guys who don't know how to be backups and there's some guys who don't know how to mentor backups.
No, you don't. That's a lot of people don't. I mean, that's the thing about it. Some guys have been set on that and been on that pedestal for so long as being that guy, even from youth ball all the way up to middle school ball, to high school, to the college ranks, until where now when they get in a position where, choices have to be made and real executive decisions have to be made, to where some don't know how to be backups, even starters. Some starters don't know how to be mentors because they're in that ego role. I've been that guy on the professional level to where I've had younger guys come in. Now, do you embrace it that way? No, you really don't, because at the end of the day, it's every man for himself and it's a job, but then eventually you have to get it. If you're confident in your skill set as a quarterback, it's not a hard thing to do is mentor a guy and bring him along within the playbook. But are you going to see that on all levels? No, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see that. I don't really see that that's really happening in the college level, especially when we're talking about the NIL situation. And like I've always told you and I will always spoke upon is I always ask my quarterbacks to always prepare themselves to be the starter when they're standing on the sideline and put themselves in the game. And that's what I talk to them about. You may be the guy right now, but once you go to college, there's another 4-star guy that was with the same ranking as you. It might have been higher than you, but guess what? Y'all are on the same playing field right now. So now it's just a matter of who's going to be able to be the leader of this team, move this team in the right direction, and who's going to be able to do the right and proper things in the classroom and the extra work when it comes to, being the best quarterback you can, for us looking at extra film, inviting guys in to do, watch extra film. But at the same time, it's just, you got the portal out here now. Some guys, I tell them right now, start looking at the logo and look at the situation. What I mean by that is look at the better situation for you as a quarterback to be able to grow on the college level. Stop looking for the power fours now. You know, it used to be power five, the power fours now, and rather than going to a school that's going to be able to better fit you, and you're not going to have to get caught up into the political part of NIL transfers and things of that sort. Now, if it's a situation where that school is the best choice for you, then that's fine. But don't look at anybody else's situation when they're choosing a college, because at the end of the day, you got to choose the best situation for you in regards to you being able to go out and live out your dream of playing football.
Ramon Robinson, always love having you on, Ramon. Before we move away from the Bryce Young conversation, something that just has me very curious about his play, right? When you, as a former quarterback, Ramon, watch Bryce Young play, is there something that you put your finger on and say he's just not seeing this the right way? Or do you think, going back to what you just said, do you think he's just in the wrong situation?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. Like I told you before, is you can get that vision, and what everybody still has in their head right now is the vision of Bryce Young playing at Alabama, right? And that's just like I don't want to switch it. That's just like people looking at, okay, the situation of Tua getting hurt. Now I look at Alabama quarterbacks, especially those, and I'm gonna say this with them, those guys ain't really get hit when they were at Alabama. So their mindset is a little different. But then when you go back and you look at Tua when he got hit, and I hope he made the right decision within his career, it was kind of the same results of what's going on now. And I hate to say that, but it's just, I think time-wise, and it's not so much of what they can't do. I just think that I believe and I stand on rookie quarterbacks coming in and being able to sit and be a sponge. And that's what I want to say in regards to what I tell my guys when they're trying to be backup. Just be a sponge to what you hear the veteran doing. Just be a sponge and copycat the things that they do. I just feel like there are better situations to where, you know, if they be a sponge, sit on the sideline and gain all the knowledge that they possibly can, I think you can see the better quarterback. I think it's just more so they forcing the hand right now with a lot of things that happen in Carolina. They pulling this guy, pulling that guy. And I just think right now, the best direction for Carolina right now is to have a veteran quarterback that can lead some of the guys that they got. You know, you got young receivers like Xavier Legette along with the other guys at the same time. Do they need a veteran guy? Yeah, they need a veteran guy, but also Bryce needs a veteran that he can learn from to how to be a professional and how to be a real pro.
RR Elite QB Academy, Ramon Robinson joining us here on the Fan Upstate. You know, once a coach, always a coach, especially once you develop a relationship with a player. And there's probably a handful that you can think back on that you developed a really strong relationship with. How often do you stay in contact, especially from a coaching standpoint, with the players that have come through your academy in the past? And how hard is it to maybe, if there's a guy who wants to lean on you, who's now on a college football roster somewhere, he's maybe hitting you up like, Ramon, what do you think I should do here? How hard is it for you to say, you gotta go with your current coaches, you got to stay with them, stop coming back to me for advice that may be antithetical to what they're trying to do?
I mean, it happens. But one thing that I do myself is I watch the guys' games. I mean, I watch them. I mean, I got a setup now. I can watch every college game from D2 ball all the way up to P4 to where I can go back and watch the games. And a lot of times that, you know, when they come to me with little things like that, I just give them a drill, you know, not overstepping boundaries. But like I said before, at the same time, we're trying to, with this trainer instructor world, you're trying to build relationships with coaches, not build, you know, enemies. You got what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if we all in this together and we want the best for the athlete, that's how we work together. You know what I'm saying? We work together in that situation of being able to help each other out. And I've had so much time with guys, other trainers have had so much time with guys. And when you see coaches that really reach out and want to get to know you and get to know the young man, you got to think about it. They've had that kid, 1-2 years, and I've probably been with some of these kids. I've had kids where I've been with them since the first grade. You know what I'm saying? It's where I know their different flaws. I know what they used to look like. I know what they're looking like now. And I know what happens when they get lackadaisical in that development. But like I said before, I don't overstep my boundaries, but do they reach out? Yes, they reach out and do want to know, hey, how did I look, so forth. And I may say, hey, look, Cole, you overstrapped. Yeah. That's why that ball sailed on you. That's why you threw the ball in the ground. You drop your elbow on a clean pocket throw when all you had to do was just come over the top and deliver the football. But those are little things that I do. I don't mix the mind up, because at the end of the day, I got too many kids to be knowing every last one of them's playbook. You know what I'm saying? So, but far as when it comes to the fundamentals and things like that, that's where I will stay with them on that. And those are the little things that they ask and so forth. And, you know, even though I may not know their playbook, but some of the stuff is you know, self-explanatory, and I understand it as a quarterback to where, okay, I see what you were doing here. You should have pulled that and threw that versus giving and taking and things like that. And you should have went with this read versus that read. Yeah, those are little things, but those are quarterback talk things. But to confuse the mind between the quarterback and whether it's the OC or the D, you know, no, that's not the job. The job is to have this kid in the best situation and work together as one to get the complete and the whole quarterback that's developing that you loved and you recruited.
Ramon, let's get to what we saw on Saturday. I'm sure you watched, just as we all did here in the upstate. South Carolina, LSU, a very good game. South Carolina falls by 3 to LSU in Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday, but Lenora Sellers goes down. Prior to him going down, and again, my opinion is just Cole's opinion. If he doesn't go down, the outcome of that game is very different. However, prior to him going down, he was playing his best ball of the year. I felt like he was very patient with the offensive line and his reads that he was seeing. Based on what you saw Saturday, what did Ramon Robinson, who trained Lenora Sellers, see for him, and what do you think that he can take forward from that performance?
Well, what I saw what I said previously when people want to, you know, dig deep and want me to say this and say that. No, I'm not going to say that. I said exactly what I'm going to say. I said it then. I'm going to say it now. 16 was being 16. Okay?
Yeah.
16, like I said, if 16 is being 16, that's what the people in the Gamecock Nation is going to love. That's what people that may not be Gamecock fans are going to love, because at the end of the day, that's the guy that I know. That's the people in Florence. That's the people in South Florence, Marlowe, his family, so forth. If you're within that circle and you know the young man's game as a quarterback, that is him. He's a thrower first. And, of course, if he got to put his foot in the ground and go, he can go. Of course, we saw that on the 75-yard escape. You know what I mean? So it's just that is Lenora Sellers. That is him. And it actually didn't just start. And it started in Kentucky. It started from Kentucky. Just everything is development. So what they're doing is they started developing and started gelling together, and they gelled at the right time. But that's what I saw. That's what I feel like that everybody else going to continue to see, because that's him electrifying, doing it with his arm and doing it with his legs, being that leader, even though he wanted to be back out there, but he was down for a little bit. But at the same time, he doesn't go down. Even with him down, and I said this, and I talked with my brother Bobby about this, even with him going down, and I talked with his dad about it, South Carolina still should have won the game regardless, but, you know, the referees, and I'm not one of those ones that blame the refs, but it was just too obvious with too many critical calls and a critical moment of the game to where, you know, the Gamecocks should have still came out of that victory, even with their starting quarterback down. And I just think that, you know, with their defense and what they got going on and the development and the offensive line play that's going on with Carolina, I just think they're in a very good situation and a very scary team that's out here in the country right now.
Ramon Robinson, find him at rrqb.net. Coach, can you give us a player or two that you would say made the biggest impact on you as an instructor of the quarterback position? Somebody, I don't know, maybe it's early on, maybe it's a guy that's come through in the past year or two, who you would say really helped you elevate your game as an instructor? It's a big question.
You know what? I mean, you know, of course, Kelly's obviously everybody know about me training Kevin, but there's another young man that trained with me throughout college, so forth. Actually helped him get a college gig at my alma mater a couple of years ago. Kevin Saxton, he was out of North Carolina. And Kevin Saxton is actually with the Kansas City Chiefs right now. And he was one that really leaned on me and actually with my guidance in regards to just helping him out with certain things. And we talked about little things like that. But we was in his life, and we're talking about being in his life, in our lives, a long time. Man, I was with him since middle school, also. And it's just to see him grow from a high school kid to going to college, and next thing you know, coaching at his college, which was Emory and Henry, to going to my alma mater. It was just crazy. And then to now, him living out his dream of being a coach in the NFL and then won a Super Bowl, man. And it's crazy. And it's just, he's one that really, that I talk about a lot, man. And also, and the other kid is Matthew Wilson, who's at App State. I think you talked about him a few times before. He was a young man that my group, not just me, but just everybody that was a part of EPT, had to embrace, and he lost his father going into his senior year, and he was one of those, matter of fact, his junior year, but he was one of those kids that we had to embrace and really show what family is. You can preach family, but if you're not holding the grounds and all the things that go along with it, then it's not family. You're just pretending to be something that you're not. And he's a kid that we embrace. We brought him in, and we say nephew, man, and we really mean that. I mean, that don't just mean we love that. There's a lot of love here, and we brought him in, and we had to play that father role for him. And it's not just me. I can't just pat myself on the back. It's just everybody that was involved, just from EPT to the QB legacy, man. And it's just.
Diesel, I have a very important question to wrap up the show, to put a bow on this Tuesday. Cloudy and doomy. Have you looked outside today? I mean, it's just cloudy.
It's a smidge nasty out
It
there.
is.
Yeah.
Just kind of reminds you that, like, winter's on the way. You know, you have a lot of these days in the winter, just kind of cloudy, not hot, not cold. South Carolina, mild,
If
rainy.
the sun was out, this temperature would be gorgeous.
It'd be perfect.
Yep.
However, it's depressing outside.
Yeah.
But to put a bow on this wonderful Tuesday on Wire to Wire, I have a $1 million question. A $1 million question for you, as well as the Tolos hanging with us till the very end today. Bryce Young's been benched. Did you know that? I don't know if you knew that or not. You're wearing a Panthers hat. I think you knew that. We talked about it earlier, Diesel. My $1 million question for you, I'm going to label you Dave Canales. I'm going to label you Dan Morgan as well. And I'm going to give you the assignment of answering the following. You benched Dave. You benched Bryce Young. Now that you've benched Bryce Young, how do you evaluate Bryce Young if he's on the bench?
Practice squad.
But
how well does he drop the clipboard very often?
Again, though,
Can he get the plays in?
We're talking about practice, right? In comparison to real live reps, which Bryce Young, we all said he needed. So now,
look, what you're doing isn't working. Real life reps are not making Bryce Young any better.
No.
So perhaps it's time to have Bryce Young sit back and learn from a competent quarterback, right? To have the pressure taken off him, because the entire weight of the Panthers fan base is bearing solely down on Bryce Young, right? There's no Bryce Young defenders out there left anymore. So Bryce Young, he's not the only one taking heat. Dave Canales is taking heat. Ejiro Avero's taking heat. Dave Tepper's been taking heat, right? But Bryce Young is catching it from everyone. Nobody is defending him at this point. People can still even defend Dave Canales by saying, well, what choice did he have? He had to play Bryce Young because people say you can't sit the number 1 overall pick. Well, when the number 1 overall pick sucks, you sit him. You give him a chance to learn. Give him a chance to, take that pressure off of himself for a couple of weeks. I don't expect Bryce to sit the entire season. Maybe Bryce Young rehabs and something clicks by week number 10 and they put him back in.
And that's the question, right? Like, if Andy Dalton goes in there and just lights it up, we all know that they're not going to pull Andy Dalton, who's absolutely on a tear. They're not going to pull Andy Dalton if he's lighting it up to put Bryce Young back in.
No.
However, what if I present you with a scenario where Andy Dalton, a little better, makes a few more throws, scores a few more touchdowns, but they're not translating to wins? What if I told you 3-4 weeks from now the Panthers are still winless? That's where I have cause for concern of, what are we doing now to help Bryce Young get better? If the live reps aren't helping, how can he improve as a player during practice? How can he learn from it? How can he learn from Andy Dalton if Andy Dalton's sucking it up, right? Because perfect situation, perfect scenario, Diesel. Andy Dalton goes in, plays well. They win a few games. Bryce is able to learn, comes back in, and Bryce is better. I don't think that him going to the bench is just going to magically fix Bryce Young. The team around him still sucks. I just said it earlier, and I'll go back to it. I truly believe that the Carolina Panthers are in a lose-lose situation.
So you're telling me that Bryce Young is not going to learn much from a 9-year starter for the Cincinnati Bengals, who has played for multiple teams. This is a scenario that Bryce Young finds himself in. Like, he played for the Bengals a lot.
Yeah.
1 year with Dallas, 1 year with Chicago, 1 year with New Orleans, and now 2 seasons in Carolina.
Sure.
I mean, he's dealt with the changeover of offensive schemes and systems, which is exactly what Bryce Young is going through right now. I think Bryce is he's got so much pressure on him that once that is lifted, he might actually be able to go out there and breathe a little bit and play loose and free, because he's playing so damn tight.
I hope so.
Tolos, we appreciate you listening today. Our Upset Picks Challenge is back tomorrow at 4. Be ready.